to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilmember Bott. Here. Councilmember Cosio. Here. Councilmember Edge. Here. Vice Mayor Lund.
Here.
Mayor Moore.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Item number 2. Is there anybody in the public that would like to comment on any items that are not on tonight's agenda? You're allowed 3 minutes to do so, and we cannot take any action at that point. Anybody?
I have a speaker card from David and Medeiros.
Okay, David? Yeah.
Good evening. My name is David Medeiros from 1026 First Street, and my question to City Council this evening is, you already had discussed Proposition 13 reform, and I'm just asking again to rethink what your decision was the last time you did that. And I think if you put more time into it, more research into it, you'll probably want to be an advocate of it or support it. So I'm asking City Council please to review that again once more. And if you need more help with that, I'd be happy to help you with that too as well. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, Dick.
Is there anybody else in the public that would like to address the council on anything that's not on tonight's
We just
agenda?
have to agendize it.
Seeing none, I'll bring it back. The consent agenda. Is there any items that any of the members would like to pull for the time being?
I'm looking for it. Where's the minutes? On the consent. Yeah. Item 3C.
3C pulled, okay. Any other items?
No, but were we going to move the, I was going to make a motion to move the, what was it? The financial statements. 4C. The financial statements.
Okay, well,
To,
I think it's a probably, we can do that. We'll make a motion to move that, but we'll just go ahead and finish the consent since
okay,
we're already
we'll
on
do
it.
the
Is that
consent
all right?
first. Okay,
Okay.
very good.
Okay, well, let's do the, okay, we're going to pull item 3C. Is there any other, okay. Need a motion to approve items A, B, and D.
So moved.
Well,
Second.
I need a motion. I need a second. A second. Okay, roll call, please. Vote.
Councilmember Cosio.
Aye.
Councilmember Bott.
Aye.
Councilmember Edge.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lund.
Aye.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
All members of council being present, the motion is stated by the mayor and passes unanimously.
Okay, item 3C, Tony, and then you'll move
I
that.
just got a couple corrections. Under 4C, I think Eric is Taylor, I believe he's a lieutenant.
Captain.
Captain.
He's a captain.
Yeah.
You have him as deputy.
Operations captain, yeah.
And on 5, on page 3, second paragraph, last sentence, ion exchange process and as weed questions. I think it's supposed to be answered.
Where was that, Tony?
Page 3, second paragraph, under 5. You see it?
Is that it?
No, I got one more. I just wanted to clarify on page 5, item E, employment contract, the supplemental medical insurance premium of $2,263.50 is per year. Other than that,
Okay.
nothing.
And I had a couple things I had already discussed with Trish, but one of them you could clarify, Tony, on page 3, public meetings and committee reports. I understood you to be saying that Caltrans would not study the issue of making the speed limit 65 until after the completion of the highway.
No,
Not that
during
they
the
would
process of the design of the highway.
While they're designing it?
Yeah.
So what she wrote works for what you said? It says they are studying whether or not to make the speed limit 65 near San Juan. I didn't think they were studying it at this time. I thought they said they would not study it until a later date.
Yeah, whether or not to change it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still a possibility that they might change it.
Okay. So it's okay how it's
Very
written?
remote.
Yeah.
Because it was your report, so I don't want to change it.
Very remote.
Hmm?
Very remote.
Hey, there's two chances, slim and none.
Oh, we
Okay,
hope
so-
not. And did we move the sheriff's report up last time also? On page 1, she has that we moved 2 items. I thought we also moved the sheriff's report. I thought we moved 3 items up. They were minor things. I was
Right.
just going to have her look at them, but since we pulled it, I might as well straighten it out now.
Okay.
Did we?
I don't think we moved them. We just
We didn't move
talked
the
about
sheriff's
it.
report?
We
Okay,
just
we're
moved
good
them.
then. That's what,
Did we approve the minutes on 3C?
We're-
Yeah.
we're good?
We're good,
Make a motion to approve?
yeah. I need a motion. With the-
I'll make a motion to approve
Okay, I need a second.
3C.
Second by Robert. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Cosio,
Aye.
Councilmember Bach,
Aye.
Councilmember Edge,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lund,
Aye.
Mayor Moore.
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion as stated by the maker passes unanimously.
Okay. Item number 4, we're going to have a change, right, Councilman Cosio? We're going to move C to A and A to C?
Yes.
Okay. And that's in a motion.
I'll move.
Well, she's got to move second.
you-
Okay. and then-
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, look.
No.
Aye.
Okay, so item 4C, monthly finance, are there any other changes?
No, but you need
No.
a roll call vote.
Okay, well, roll call vote then.
Councilmember Cosio.
Aye.
Councilmember Bach.
Aye.
Councilmember Edge,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lund,
Aye.
Mayor Moore.
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion as stated by the maker passes unanimously.
Okay, item number 4C is now been moved to A, monthly financial statement and treasury report. Is Chuck here?
I think I'm D, not C, right? I'm D on the list?
No, you're C.
Am I C?
Yeah, we moved you up here.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. I have to take my daughter to the airport tonight, so I asked her to be moved up a little bit so I could do this.
There you go.
First of all, for those who don't know, I'm Chuck Iger. I'm the treasurer of San Juan Bautista. And I'm going to give the treasurer's report tonight. So good evening, Mayor, City Council members, City staff. We've come, what I'm reporting on is the end of, as of the end of June, we finished our business cycle. So now we close the books, we take a look at what we did for the last year, see how our budgets kind of line up with their actuals. And I just have a few comments to make about the what I see in the budget. First of all, with regard to the general finances of our city, to the general fund, at this time, the city has exceeded our projections by an amount of $31,000, which means we're running in the black in that term of the general fund. With respect to our enterprise fund, according to the accounting that I've seen, the revenues have decreased a little bit in the enterprise funds. The reason is because of the drought. The city has asked people to conserve. When people conserve on water usage, the water bills go down, so there is a decrease in revenue. But we only show a $21,000 reduction in revenue because of water usage. But it's kind of a double-sworded, bladed kind of knife kind of thing. That if you tell people not to use water, then our revenues are going to go down. So that's expected. But anyway, just a little bit decrease there. With respect to the cash flow going through the city, we're running a positive cash flow, which means we're able to take in enough money to pay our bills as they come in. And that number is significant. It's over $300,000. So that's a very good cash flow for the city. As for our reserve fund, our management team here, our city council, our city manager, our staff, we've done a really good job of maintaining our reserve fund. Currently, the reserve fund is sitting over a little over $2.5 million. And for the most part, we know that we have some water project issues coming up. and I think the city is very aware that we've been basically knowing this is going to happen, and we've been kind of, put money aside so we can address those issues. Okay. I want to come back to this in just a moment. I want to jump to our warrants. If the council would like to pull out the warrants. For the public interest, the warrants are basically the checks that we write for services provided to the city of San Juan Bautista. I just wanted to comment on a few of them and take questions from you before I go back to my other presentation. Let me ask the council, was there any in particular you'd like me to address? Yes.
I just noticed that we had quite a sizable bill with law offices,
Who?
with Wellington law offices.
Oh, yes.
And I'm just wondering, is that a result of these different appeals and?
Yes, absolutely. If you look, the warrant that was written to the law office, on an average month is around $2,500.
Right.
If you've noticed that our warrants paid to the law office is at $5,000, the additional $2,500 has gone to attorney cost having to do with legal litigation. I believe it's the Accord group that's is running up the attorney bills for our city. It's disappointing, but that's where that cost is.
Well, and then there's another payment of $7,944 on the second page.
$208,580.
On the second page?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, yes, that's, I'm sorry to say, lawyers are not cheap.
Right.
And so that's, yes, that's another $8,000. It just, like I said, it's a shame when we run $2,500 a month on legal fees, and now we're paying, God, that's excess of $13,000. That's a heck of a lot of money that I think is going to be pulled out of our reserves.
Mm-hmm.
And what are we getting out of it? So that's very disappointing. Okay, other questions on the warrants?
I don't have any. Any other comments?
Just Epic International. Do you
Yes.
know what that one is?
Epic International, let me just take a look here.
That was the
Okay.
pump at the Lang Court.
Yeah, that was the
the lift
lift
station.
station
Okay.
on Lang Street that had the pumps replaced.
Okay.
If you were, once again, let's see, what else? Is there any other ones that really jump out at you you'd like to know something about? The,
A&N Plumbing was for the reverse osmosis that we put in on the fire station, I assume?
Yes.
okay.
For drinking water for people to come and pick up their own drinking water.
Yes.
Now, is that for restaurants as well as for
For
babies
restaurants as
and
well as
pregnant women?
individual, yeah.
Right.
So restaurants can also come to the fire station and get the water that's been through the reverse osmosis
Yes.
process now? That's good.
The, if you look at the, there's one on 666, has to do with the drilling. The
The
date,
Majoria
that had to
Brothers?
do with well number 2. It had to do with seeing what issues are with well 2 that we might be able to remedy, start using well 2 again. And so, I mean, there's a lot of positive thought about if we go deeper with our wells, and I know the city manager will discuss this later on, that the water looks really good if we get down to about 500 feet and we do a sealing so far down. So that's, city manager, I think that's item number 7 in the agenda. That is that correct? Yeah. Discussion on the water item, okay? And like I said earlier, I'd just like to comment, City Council Member Bach brought it to the attention about the cost of the attorneys. As your city treasurer, I'm really disturbed about the cost that we're putting out for attorney fees. I find it difficult when people want to litigate against our city when we have pretty much a transparent approach of planning, as well as the city council. We've gone through weeks, months of open hearings talking about the general plan, and then people want to litigate and they haven't even shown up to talk about it. They haven't come here to be part of the solution. They just get angry and they say, we're going to do something. We don't like it. So, it's really disappointing that we have to spend public funds to go out and pay expensive legal attorney fees, and they didn't even come to the process. So it's very discouraging that we're going to lose that money. And that money is going to be used for, helping our water system, helping other items that we need here. 2.5 million is not that much money. And if we start putting out tens of thousands of dollars, you guys made a decision based on all the meetings that went on, and their input. There were surveys taken by our planning staff of the community of what we need and what would be better. And then all of a sudden, because they don't like it, they want to litigate against us. So it's very disappointing. And if you're part of that group, I wish you would come in and sit down with the city manager. I have found that a lot of times where I had certain feelings about certain things in the city, if you sit down and talk to people on the council or talk to people that are part of our staff, all of a sudden you go, oh, I get it now. I know why we're doing that. But that needs to happen. This little town can't afford tens of thousands of dollars in litigation cost. And all the hard work you guys have done to save us money, what's happening to that saved money? It's going right out the window. So with that said, I hope the public will get involved, go talk to these people, find out why this is going on. Let's put an end to it. Become part of the process, part of the solution. Okay, I appreciate that. And with that, I say thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions? Okay.
I'll just make one comment on the attorney. I don't see the date that these statements were submitted, but I know Rob was out of the office, and the bill may
that's
be for
fine.
different months. That's awesome. Sometimes it's
You needed a new Porsche.
Do I need a new one? I have a 67 one. I have enough trouble keeping that running.
Okay, thank you. And by the way, I just want to comment that our city attorney, I appreciate what you do.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to hammer you or anything. I just know that legal costs money, and you're a professional, and we need you to defend us when this happens.
Well, we appreciate that, and like I say, sometimes we're so busy defending, we don't always get our bills in on time. So point that out.
Yeah, but the point was more about the litigation rather than...
About the litigation.
Yeah.
We still like you. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Is there anybody in the public that would like to speak on our treasury report? They're not an action item, just an informal. Just address your name and come on up and give the maybe fill out a card.
Yeah, my name is Daniel Lewis, live on Pierce Lane, 108 Pierce Lane. I just want to say, actually one thing that I heard him say is he's asking us to conserve water and that the costs are going down. My bill's the same every month for the last 2 years that I've lived here, no matter how much water I use.
Okay. Thank you, Daniel. Is there anybody else? Okay. Seeing none, I'll bring it back.
You must not be going over the minimum. Only thing I can think.
Yeah, maybe. Item 4.
Andy, just a comment.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Those who know how the water billing takes place, it has to do with about usage.
Yeah.
Everybody pays the same fee for sewer. It's a consistent dollar. But the amount of units you use in water, I think it's 1,000 gallons per unit, I believe. Is that right, Roger? So when you get your bill, you look at it, and I think the first 3,000, if you're under the first 3,000, it's one price. And then each 1,000 after the 3,000 is an additional $5 or $6. It's tiered. The more you use, you go into a higher tier. And what I've learned is cut your water down and you cut your water bill down, because those higher tiers are expensive.
I think his point was maybe his meter's broken. He said as much, no matter how much water he uses,
We'll come in.
his bill stays the same.
No, that's fine. I mean,
So what I'm trying to say is, my bill is $125 every month.
Okay.
At the end. And you're telling us to conserve water. My children can't drink the water, and my dogs can't drink the water.
They can,
What are you trying to say? So, he's laughing at me when I'm telling you,
No.
I'm paying the same amount of water every month, and I'm conserving water.
well, yeah, you are,
Desperately.
because you're paying the basic, so you are. We don't-
$125 a month for water.
Right.
That is the that is the basic
That's
fee.
the basic.
That
No,
is
we
the ba-
appreciate that.
That's the
You
base
know,
fee.
we-
That
we
means you're doing
appreciate it.
good.
Okay, is there anybody else? Okay, moving on. We've got some
And
proclamations.
could I just
Yeah.
clarify one thing?
What?
That is your sewer and your water bill. The majority of that is actually your sewer bill. Your water bill is less than half of the total. Yeah, it's your sewer and your water bill both together at the same time.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, we got some proclamations. Is there anybody here from the San Benito County Health Foundation? I'll tell you what, I have 3 of them, so if you want to read them, you can. Do you need them?
No, she has.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Angelica, and I work at the San Benito Health Foundation. I'm a nutrition and health educator there, and I won't read them, but I will go through them briefly.
Okay.
And one of the first proclamations every year, we celebrate the National Health Center Week, which is celebrating America's health centers around our country. And we have one here, which I work in, is San Benito Health Foundation, and we're composed of different departments like medical. We have a dental department, we have behavioral health, we have medical, it's composed of different departments, and it's available for everybody in the community. So National Health Center Week, we have an open house August 15th from 4 to 7, which I'm here to invite everybody in our community, and we hope to see you there. During the day, in the morning, from 12 to 2, we actually also celebrate the National Breastfeeding Awareness Month, and we're celebrating also our National Farm Workers Health Day. And August 14th, we go to our labor camps, and we provide free health services to our farm workers. And that's August 14th. And like I said again, I wanted to invite everybody August 15th from 4 to 7 to our annual open house. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Here, I'll go.
where is that at?
The San Benito Health Foundation?
Is it at the windmill? Is
Oh,
that,
no, sorry. It's at San Benito Health Foundation is in Hollister, 351 Felice Drive. It's near Hollister Super on San Juan Road.
okay, all right, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, looking into a vision center too. Vision center we've been looking into, and having optical brought to the foundation too.
Yeah, and we're also adding another department, which is our vision center.
Yeah, they have a WIC center and
The WIC Center, that's what I thought, because I've seen that, but I didn't hear her say that, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah, and actually we're trying to get the property behind the health foundation. We're going to put in a senior center if you want a senior center.
Okay, let's see here. There's one other one for REACH, San Benito Foundation. There's Donna. Hi, thank you.
Good evening.
Hi.
Nice to be up here again. I have been involved with a foundation that has been formed under Parks and Recreation or by their request. It's a 501c3 that will support the sports, recreation, and exercise in San Benito County. So basically what the idea is that the Board of Supervisors says that there's money in the coffers to start a park here, or begin this, or to work with that. However, they have no money for maintenance. And therefore, even when you have developments, they have to turn down the developer for property within the development that could be made into a park, because San Benito County has no funds for maintenance. Therefore, they ask that people get together. Actually, it was Don Kelly and Don Pidd put together the initial papers under the Community Foundation. So we started out under that umbrella. Right now we have our own 501c3 standing, and so we have been issuing we've been asking for resolutions and proclamations from the City of Hollister and the County of San Benito, and now San Juan Bautista, to just gain an awareness of what the program will bring. And what we want to do is that if there are projects within San Juan or Hollister or San Benito County on the outside, that we can find funds for, search for grants for, to support those activities, teams, facilities, ideas, then that's what we'll be working for. Therefore, I'll read the proclamation. That's what I came for.
There you go.
Whereas REACH San Benito Foundation was established as a nonprofit public benefit corporation and is in the process of obtaining 501c3 status, and whereas REACH is an acronym representing recreation, exercise, and community health, and whereas the goals of REACH San Benito Foundation are to facilitate a healthy community through fundraising efforts and to preserve and enhance parks, facilities, and recreation programs in San Benito County, and whereas youth obesity is at an epidemic rate and enhanced accessibility to parks and recreation services, programs, and facilities will have a positive impact upon healthy lifestyles. Now, therefore, be it resolved on this 15th day of July 2014 that the City Council of the City of San Juan Bautista proclaims its support for the efforts of REACH, Recreation, Exercise, and Community Health, San Benito Foundation. So,
Thank you, Valerie.
oh, you do? Is that an exchange?
Yeah, well, I'll take it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, 4D, Sheriff's Report. I think Captain Taylor's here, but is there any questions?
Is he coming or not coming?
No, he's not able to be here.
Want to go ahead and read it off?
There's a training session on rescue tonight, and
You know,
they submitted that report.
I just want to make one comment. I really like it's more detailed, case numbers and, what, if there was an arrest and stuff. But I don't know, if the public would like a copy of this, we could, of the city clerk, make some copies and you can pick it up on the way out. We get a monthly report from the sheriff's office every month on what they're doing over here, how many citations, case numbers regarding everything. Go ahead, Chris.
It occurred to me after the last neighborhood watch meeting that there was a lot of great data on that, but if it were supplied in an Excel format, it would become a workable, usable, potentially a database that could be searched and compiled and extracted information from it.
Yeah.
So just a comment, it may be worth asking. Sorry, Christopher Margarano, 97 4th Street. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Chris.
Yeah,
Okay,
we did go over this
Okay.
at the neighborhood watch meeting, and that's a good point, because that's what we'd like to be able to do, is to really look at things and see what's occurring. My only disappointment isn't exactly the report. It's that we don't have anybody from the sheriff's office, and I understand why, but I wanted to really find out about the July 4th, and this only goes through June. So I
Okay.
guess we'll find out next month if there were
I worked all
any
weekend,
unusual
right?
activities.
I was at the firehouse all
Hey,
weekend for that
Trish, could
one.
I give you this, and maybe if the public would, can you maybe burn 4 or 5 copies, and when they walk out, they can have it? Is there any other questions from council?
I assume the numbers are
The
where a
ca-
case report
case
was
number.
filed.
Yeah, a case number.
And that means if you wanted to find out about the 2 vandalisms, you could go to that number and find the case report
Right.
at the sheriff's office.
Okay. No other, fire chief's report, I don't. Robert?
Why don't we, if you want to put that off,
Okay, we'll just move to,
we'll
Put
move
that
that
off
further
and-
down.
maybe Mike will show
Would
up,
you like to- do you need a
library
motion for
report.
that, or can you
I
make a motion
I'll
for
just
that?
move it.
Okay. If not, I'll do what I can.
Any questions for your library?
No.
We had a lot of people in there this June.
Yeah, they seem to get more in the summer than during the school year, huh?
Okay, Roger, administrative report, we're gonna jump up to that.
Just, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, just kind of a recap of the public works. We're kind of making some headway on some of our sewer problems out there at the Mission RV Park, and we're doing some connections to eliminate potential nitrate intrusions into our wells by connecting the Mission RV Park to our new sewer line. And shortly we'll be able to get the lift station going on well number 3 and have Mr. Diaz connect his, so that would maybe lower the nitrate levels in well number 3 also.
Okay.
Code enforcement, again, we're watching the various violations and stuff like that, and I know Matt has been very aggressive to go in weed abatement before the 4th of July, and we were able to encourage people to diminish their fuel source on a lot of the lots that potentially could turn into a fire during the 4th of July, and that was successful. And the captain and the fire, not the volunteers, but the captain in the fire department has initiated a program where they're going through the businesses and supporting them and identifying potential fire hazards in their business and working with them to really prevent fires happening and everything. And I think it's working well, and I think we should commend the fire department and the captain for taking that initiative and then going through these businesses and helping them out. You know, and it's strictly voluntary. It's nothing that we require them to do, but it's supportive, and that was a program that I've put a lot of high merits on, is just that we're here to serve the businesses. Planning department, maybe I'll let Matt kind of take that over. We're continuing to work on the various environmental.
Yes, so as Roger mentioned, we're working on the environmental report for Harvey Dadwall's project, and that'll shortly be going out to the state clearinghouse. And then, the general plan, we're circulating the most recent draft right now, and that review period will end here at the end of July. And then we look to accept the document at the beginning of August, and the draft's online, and definitely you can stop by the office or contact me and I can send you a link to where to find that document. There's a hard copy here at the office and then also at the library, as well as in Hollister's library, or the county library in Hollister.
Okay.
And our city manager's report, I've indicated water is the most important issue, and we're continuing to work on that. And under item 7, I'll kind of give you a summary of that. Basically, to comply with that compliance order from the DHP, we've submitted our reports, and then I'll fill in on the details here. The work on the lawsuit from the Accord Group is ongoing, and we're preparing a fiscal analysis of what it's going to cost us to defend and and we're trying to anticipate the cost. It will put a burden on our reserves, and no doubt about it, and it'll create some deviation from our 5-year capital improvement program. We'll have to maybe put those off a few years to handle the litigation costs on them. So.
Okay, any questions?
Just to follow up a little on this lawsuit, when I read this, I jotted down a few notes. It just seems to me that, well, the city council has done its best to be fiscally responsible and bring more businesses and therefore more money into the city to pay for better water and better streets and other improvements for the general public. A small faction of people has taken action that is costing the city valuable assets and time. To have a few members of the public attempt to control and manipulate a city ordinance that has been approved unanimously by 5 elected officials is a huge drain on our efforts to keep this city thriving and provide the services necessary to its citizens. And that's just a follow-up comment. You heard our treasurer make similar comment, and Mr. Bach, Councilmember Bach, and it's really disheartening to try so hard to keep our city solvent and then have drains like this on our funds.
Okay, any other comments? Council?
I just have one comment on the lawsuit issue as well, just to add to what I've covered. I believe, and I've not been involved with the defense or looking at this at this point, but I know George, the fact that the city attorney and also Deb Wall in our office have. And I believe that some of these costs were going to be covered by the indemnity and some of the agreements with the developers. So I just want to mention that just for the record.
But we're paying first, though, right?
Yeah,
I'm not familiar with the provisions. I'd have to see it, but I believe that some of them are going to be covered.
But the costs are not all attorney fees.
No.
The costs are to our small staff who is striving to improve things for the public, and their time is being taken away by this. And that's really almost worse than the attorney fees.
Clearly that's the case. No, I'm not defending litigation in any way, shape, or form.
Thank you.
Okay. No other comments. Moving on to public meetings and comments. What's happening?
Fire truck?
Yeah, yeah. Roger, on this, you have the fire truck that you put under here.
I thought that was another agenda item.
Yeah, but it's under the.
That's 6E.
Okay, well, it was under.
Oh.
Well, it's in the wrong place.
It got put in the wrong place on yours. I do my own, so it's not.
Okay, that's fine. We'll get to it.
In mine.
Okay, public meetings and committee reports. Who wants to go? Anybody? Tony?
I don't have anything.
We did not have an AMBAG meeting. We had a neighborhood watch meeting, and Captain Taylor was going to be our speaker, and he had an emergency and was not able to attend. He will be our speaker for the August 14th neighborhood watch meeting. So for anybody who would like to come and attend, I'd like to invite the council and the public to come and hear what the new operations captain for the sheriff's office has to say. And we had an interesting discussion on loud bikes, especially downtown, and also spent time formulating questions on several different issues, which I will be forwarding to Captain Taylor prior to our next meeting so that he can speak on those issues.
Okay, great.
No meetings.
Okay, Robert, you can.
I'll do the fire, you can do that.
Yeah, that's fine. Go do the fire.
We had a fire meeting this month. No update on Station 3 yet. Station 4, they showed that is completed. Pretty much, we had our meeting for the 4th of July. Ran approximately about 26 calls during the 4th of July weekend, which is approximately about 12 to 15 more than what they usually run for that period. Motorcycle accidents, vehicle fires. We had a couple wildland fires. A lot of medical aids through the rally. And Station 1 and 2 been full staffed. And the reserve count is up to 42 right now. There has been a grant that's been gone through for 80 breathing apparatuses, so we'll be replacing all the breathing apparatuses throughout the county and city rigs. That should probably be happening around October. Other than that, everything's been pretty smooth.
Okay, that day, July 10th, we had 3 meetings, 2 in the morning and I had one in the afternoon, but I'll cover the intergovernment. There were 12 items, and the ones that were basically could be pertinent to San Juan Bautista as a homeless in San Benito County. The TOT tax, they're talking about kicking that up to 12%, we're at 12. Public Works partnership opportunities, Roger was there, maybe something that we may need, a paint machine or, striper or something, that was brought up. A letter of no confidence, they want, it's going to come back to the Council of San Juan Bautista regarding the Bureau of Land Management. The county is very unhappy, along with the City of Hollister, with Third Creek, and closing everything, that they're not getting any action for years, that it's a revenue-driven source, people can go out there. So I haven't seen the resolution, but maybe Roger, you were there, right?
Yes.
Maybe you can speak on it, but that's coming down the pipeline to us.
Yes.
Maybe to pass something.
Yeah, we're taking a look at it and see how it's going to be applicable to San Juan, and then we'll have a report coming at your next meeting.
Right.
Yes.
That letter's already been drafted.
It's drafted, yeah, right, yeah. I've contacted a few different organizations that want us to add some additional stuff into the letter. Yeah.
Okay.
It's basically a no confidence letter directed at the Bureau of Land Management.
Right.
It's a certain individual too.
Yes.
Listed?
Yeah.
Okay.
So just FYI, it's coming, in some, frame that's coming back to us for some action. That's about it for the intergovernment. The water meeting with the county was at 1:30, and basically it's just conserved, and they have rebate programs, for the washing machines, toilets, low flow shower heads. If you have a leak, your toilet's running, they'll come out for free and replace the flappers on it. It's not a charge. They'll put the low flow shower heads on it, and we pay. The city of San Juan pays a yearly stipend into there for that to get those programs. So
take advantage of it.
Take advantage of it. I mean, they will come out. Leo will come out, and he'll and try to fix it.
How can people do that again?
Yeah, the San Benito County Water District has an offshoot where they have Sean Novak is in charge of the water conservation program, and it's if your toilet is a certain age, they'll replace it. They won't put it in, but they'll give you a new one. Shower heads, if your toilet's not is leaking slowly, they'll put the flapper in, and so on and so forth. They'll try to, if you think you're losing water somewhere, they'll try to detect where it's at.
Well, you even checks your sprinklers.
Yeah, I mean, it's no charge.
Great service.
Yeah, it's a great service that we pay into, so anyhow. Okay.
Are we still going to have a fire chief's report, or did we skip it?
We're going to continue it.
We'll continue, just skip
in case
it.
Mike shows up.
Mike shows up.
Okay, because I did, since you gave the fire committee report, I did want to comment how great it was to have the fire department come up and put out the fire so quickly, less than a block from my house on Washington near 7th Street. There was kids throwing, I guess it was firecrackers into the weeds, and it started a fire, and it started going up a eucalyptus tree, and luckily the neighbors called quickly. The fire truck got there right away and got it out before it did any serious damage, so it was great.
Engineer Chris Berg, I think, was in charge of that one. He did a good job.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, farmer or volunteer,
Yeah,
that, that's escalated up.
Good.
They're running crew, so, yeah. Okay. Okay, item number 5. Public hearing, consider resolution 2014, I don't know what the number is, but 26, for approving a planned unit development permit for 37 Monterey. The applicant is Ken Albani, and Roger, you might want to
Yeah,
this thing.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Mr. Ken Alboni submitted an application for a minor subdivision at 37 Monterey Street back in May. The hearing was held, and the overall opinion of the neighbors and everybody in that area that the division would really fit into the overall area. There's a number of lots that are smaller than the standard 7,000 square foot. And the design he had would tear down that masonry house there, and he would build 2 cottage-type smaller units, and the lot sizes would be right about 4,600 square feet in size. However, it was discovered that going through the minor subdivision, we couldn't do it through the zoning ordinance, that we'd have to do it through a planned unit development. And so the applicant changed his application to a PUD request. It went back into the to the Planning Commission in June. They reviewed this, looked at it. They adopted a resolution recommending to you issuing of the planned unit development permit. In our ordinance, the planned unit development permit is issued by the City Council, not as the Planning Commission. So their recommendation is to go forward. It carried with it 7 findings, and tonight when you review the resolution to approve the granting the PUD permit for Mr. Alboni, you should read into the record those findings so that it's specific. We are learning from some of these lawsuits that if we do not read it into the record, it can come back to bite us. So.
Question, where's 37? Is that the old pottery place?
No, it's the end of 4th Street.
End of 4th?
Yeah, it used to belong to Ernie Almus.
Oh, that house that you had listed?
Yeah, and
okay.
Legal counsel, I'm gonna abstain and back out, and I'll let Robert handle this. I don't have any involvement. I represented the local family, and it was, but I don't have any financial gain as of now.
I first thought it was that lot next to the house, the lot that Richard Ponce has over there on the other side of the street. Kind of triangular shape.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Rob, I should ask you about that too.
It's 26.
I'm within 300 feet of that. Should I abstain from that too?
You should abstain, yes. I'm going to say you should abstain, but I would like the opportunity to research that a little bit. I think maybe 200 feet. I don't have that at my fingertips. So based on that, I would advise you.
I'm probably within close to 200 feet.
That I would definitely.
Do they have to leave?
Yes.
Bye.
You both identified the conflict of interest that you have on the record. You both now need to leave the room.
Okay.
And not be counted for purposes of quorum. The record should reflect that.
Just as a comment, the difficulty of a lot of this is that we live in a small city, and if we take that same clause of 300 feet, it's no matter what you do in terms of land use and development, you would probably have to recuse yourself from that. It's the philosophy, and I've read the conflict of interest, is that if the overall objective is for the betterment of the community, where you're not going to profit individually from it, then you could take action, but you have to make those findings before you can do that. Yes.
And there are provisions for if it's necessary for a quorum in your participation.
Yeah, that's.
But in this case, we have a quorum.
Yes.
That's the one I remember. If 3 of us had to leave, we'd have to have someone stay.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is certainly difficult and awkward, especially in small cities.
Yeah.
And they've recently changed the law as far as that because they recognize it. Anyway, so at this point, it would be proper once they recuse themselves to go ahead and open the public hearing.
Now, the applicant is in the audience, and you'd give him the opportunity to come and speak. Yeah.
Okay. Is that Ken Ottobody?
Yes.
Okay, if you'd like to come up and speak.
Hi, I'm Ken Ottoboni.
How you doing?
I would like to build 2 small houses on that lot, and or divide the lot into 2, build 2 small houses that would look good in the neighborhood in San Juan. I'm a 4th generation, born in San Juan Bautista, and that's it, I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
Anybody have a question for
Totally.
me?
Anybody else?
Just is there going to be off-street parking? Will you have enough space for off-street parking with that lot size? Will there be a driveway?
Yeah, driveway.
Each one will have a driveway, so
Yes.
so the cars won't have to
Yeah.
park on the street.
And the preliminary layout that Ken has done through his architect is they'll have a 2-car garage as
Wow.
well as the driveway.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Is that a layout of the
You want to look at a little
property?
drawing?
Does it show how the lot size works? Yeah.
Well, it shows.
Yeah, because that is a fairly small lot size, but I'm sure you can make it work if the house is small. Thank you. This is one of the 2 houses then,
Yes, ma'am.
and they're both going to be similar. Thank you. Yeah. First you have to figure out where the street is. It doesn't identify the street.
I don't know if it was, I didn't hear it mentioned just now, but the lot that's there is zoned R2. Was that mentioned just now?
No, it wasn't, but it's in our packets, so yeah. I was aware of that. I read it in there. So your other option, I suppose, would have been sharing a common wall or something along those
Well, you
lines.
could put up, say, townhouses or something like that.
Yeah.
When I went to the planning commission meeting, there were quite a few neighbors there that were very concerned about that.
They preferred this option.
Because they didn't want to see something 2-story there.
Yeah.
As soon as they found out that I was interested in putting 1-story small single-family homes there, they were obviously in favor of it because it would greatly enhance the neighborhood if you just look at it.
and it fit into the area
Sure.
across the street as well as adjacent. There was smaller lots of similar size and single-family, single-story residential, and so that was the overall opinion of the neighborhood is that it would fit in and it would really benefit that area rather than putting a duplex or a higher density into it.
Do you want to bring anybody else for comment, or we just stay with it?
Did you ask if there's anybody else?
Yeah, is there anybody else in the audience that would like to comment?
Richard Ponce, 93 4th Street. I own property within probably 300 feet of this project, and I support the project because in that particular neighborhood there is small lots And most of the homes in that particular area are owner-occupied, and I think it'd be good for that area. Further down, Jimentals, but theirs mostly owner-occupied, so I support the project.
Okay, anybody else in the audience? All right, so we'll bring it back to reading the resolution.
At this time, the public hearing is closed.
Okay. Public hearing will be now closed. I'll now read the resolution of 2014.
And I would like to read into the record, Section 1, the findings. Therefore, the City Council of the City of San Juan Bautista hereby resolves as follows. Having considered the entire matter and the application of the PUD permit 214-06, recommendations from the Planning Commission, testimony of the public hearing, and in light of the whole record before the Planning Commission and City Council, the following findings are hereby made for approval of the PUD permit number 214-601. The project meets the goals and objectives of the housing elements of the general plan, and the use is necessary and desirable in relationship to the purpose and intent of the San Juan Municipal Code, the title, and the economic and social and environmental status of the city. The project is consistent with the required densities of the zoning district, that the use will not adversely affect the health, safety of persons living and working in the vicinity, or the material detrimental to the public welfare of the city and its residents. The project will further the goals and objectives of affordable housing within the city of San Juan Bautista due to the size of the parcel and the required floor area ratio. The use of the property relates to the other uses, transportation facilities, and public facilities in the area, and will not cause undue environmental impacts related to noise, odor, pollution, etc. The project will further the goals in developing incentives for affordable housing, such as reduced parcel size and building floor areas, and the project will promote housing that fits into the surrounding neighborhood style, scale, and architecture.
Glad you went into the FAR. I was kind of...
Yeah.
Yeah.
The FAR is referred to as the floor area ratio.
Is it resolution 2014-06?
26.
26. Okay, I didn't
What's
think
yours
that
say at
sounded
the
right.
top? 08?
XX.
That is the...
Oh, the other one says 08. One says 08, one says...
That's the Planning Commission's recommendation.
Okay, that's the Planning Commission, and then the next one says 26. I wanted to comment on Exhibit A. I am just thrilled to see that the Planning Commission has added in the applicant shall install water-efficient plumbing fixtures, lighting fixtures, irrigation facilities, and drought-resistant landscaping on each parcel upon issuance of a building permit. I would like to start seeing that a lot more, or an ordinance or something, so that everyone has to do that.
And that was the recommendation of the Planning Commission. They were strong about that, yes.
So now I guess we'll bring it to a vote. Yeah. I need a motion to bring this resolution.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Cosio?
Aye.
Councilmember Bach has recused himself. Councilmember Edge?
Aye.
Mayor Moore has recused himself. Vice Mayor Lund?
Aye.
A quorum of the council being present, the motion as stated by the maker passes 3-0-0. Councilmember Bach and Mayor Moore having recused themselves.
Okay.
Motion passes.
All right. We'll call them back in.
Thank you all very much.
All right, we're looking forward to the project.
Did you need that back?
Oh, yeah, it's right
here.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
Nice looking plants.
What are you guys doing out there?
There's
enough distance between us.
Really, a 1,500 square foot house.
I know. It's over by now, isn't it? No?
I noticed 45 stars and everything kind of space.
We'll start at 5:30 then.
Great.
Okay. 5B. Let me just get to 5B and... Okay. Item 5B, introduce an ordinance amending section 11-02-050 of the municipal code dealing with recycling facility. Right?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we had an applicant come forward and would like to put a recycling drop-off facilities in town, and we examined the zoning district regulations, and it would be not allowed. The only place that it would be allowed is in industrial zoning, and the only industrial zoning is at the corner of Mission Vineyard Road and San Juan Hollister Road out by well number 3. We felt that the existing zoning ordinance didn't really separate the two issues. There's a recycling facility that's processing, and storage and packaging, and then there's the recycling drop-off, which is really to promote the conservation of plastic bottles and cans, and it should be close and around convenience stores and facilities in the downtown area. So what we proposed is to bring this to the Planning Commission, and they concurred to change the ordinance and create a new category of a recycling drop-off processing facility and a recycling drop-off facility for cans and bottles. And so now we've created two categories. Tonight's recommendation is to adopt an ordinance that allows the new classification so that that can occur in both commercial and mixed-use areas, the drop-off facilities.
Go ahead, Joanne.
My only concern was messiness. I think that we need this. I just want to make sure that we're covered when it comes to how messy a facility like that could be.
That's a very good point, is if you will look on the second page of the thing, and we have the categories, it has commercial and mixed use, and it has recycling drop-off facilities. It's a permitted use with an S designation. So for them to do it, it has to go through the Planning Commission through site and design review. And that can be conditioned upon to clean up the mess or making sure. So we added that to that classification for that same purpose, so that the Planning Commission can control the operator to make sure that they clean up the mess and it's not dirty.
Or high fences.
High fences, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
So the one we had before was not
It was
legal?
illegal. Yeah.
It was gone before Roger got
Yeah.
Is the applicant here that would like to, you can come on up and you can introduce yourself and,
Dave Nichols. I'm the Congress for the Kids Recycling.
okay.
And we've been doing this for 6 months now, trying to get a permit or to do this. As far as the cleanliness, it's going to be like a mobile thing where we just come in the morning, get set up, end of the day, we just pack it up and leave, and it'll be kept very well clean, with no doubt. That's one of my major pet peeves, I guess you'd say. But it's mainly to help the kids, for the future, see they have a future resources, to still use, because the way it's going now, it's ridiculous. But and also we'll make donations to help kids with cancer. We're a profit organization, not non-profit, but I will be filing for a non-profit organization pretty soon, once I get this set up, and take it from there. But it's to help the community. They have a place to go instead of having to go all the way to Hollister or Gilroy or somewhere to drop their recyclables off. It'll be convenient for them. And then I was talking to Mr. Hemsley also about setting up a program for the elementary school here to teach them about recycling also, going once a year and give a program to them and stuff. So that's where we want to take this thing. And also be involved with all of the events that you guys have to do the recycling and the events and stuff like that.
You're just going to do cans and bottles and
yes, sir.
Not scrap metal? And
no.
things like, okay.
No, it's going to be just a little bitty thing, you know. If I take it, decide to get any larger, which I'm going to, I won't have any involvement with this, you know, so.
So you have a location already? Excuse me.
Yes, over at Neal's Market, the same place where the.
Okay, where the other one was?
Yeah.
It was very convenient. I used it a lot. I didn't know it wasn't legal.
Yeah.
And in the ordinance, we have some whereases, and I think the critical issue is the fifth whereas is the recycling facility drop-off is an integral part of the objectives of the Cal Recycling Program to promote and reuse materials to meet waste diversion goals. And that's part of the overall objectives.
Did you have public? Oh, did somebody else have?
Yeah, just, I don't, does anybody have questions of the applicant? Good. Is there anybody else from the public that would like to come up to the podium and address this issue? Okay. I'll bring it back to the council. What's your
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, I need a...
You have to read the whole thing?
No, I just need the number.
Well, it's actually going to be adopted at the next meeting.
Yes. Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I got it.
It's a motion to introduce.
Okay,
and read by
introduce.
title only.
Right.
Okay. And then I guess a roll call vote. I have a first and a second.
Did we read it by title?
Yeah, you don't even have to have a vote on it. You just have to introduce it.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, you have.
You read it by title, though.
You should approve the introduction.
Okay.
Approve the introduction, yeah.
Motion to approve the introduction. Sorry.
Who seconded that motion to approve the introduction?
I did.
And did you want your roll call vote now?
Yeah, we better do a roll call or whatever.
Councilmember Cosio?
Aye.
Councilmember Bach?
Aye.
Councilmember Edge?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lund?
Aye.
And Mayor Moore?
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion as stated by the maker passes unanimously.
And to read the title, it would be an ordinance of the City of Council of the City of San Juan Bautista amending Chapter 11-02-050 of the San Juan Municipal Code regarding permitted and conditional uses by zoning district.
Okay. Slowly. Need a motion and a...
Already did.
Okay.
It's
Okay,
done.
so we're on the...
He was just doing a little follow-up because I
Okay.
didn't properly
Okay.
do that.
Okay. Items number 6, action item. Consider approval of a contract with Cal Poly to update the environmental impact report for the general plan.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, as you know, we've been going through our general plan updating process, and so coming up pretty soon, we'll need to, once we have an accepted draft, go through an environmental review. Since Cal Poly, they put together general plans, somewhere along the way they figured out that, okay, every time they worked with the city, they needed to also do an environmental impact report. So as part of a combination, I mean, it's separate from the general plan update, but having Cal Poly help us out with the environmental impact report is, I think, ideal. Some of the quotes that we had gotten from other consultants kind of in the area and kind of around in other parts of California ranged anywhere from $100,000 to $200,000 to produce environmental impact report, even for such a small city. And where Cal Poly comes in, they're about $70,000, which basically covers the travel and any supplemental consultant reports that they get to put together this document. More or less, the time frame for that document would be fall 2014 to summer 2015. And so basically the Planning Commission recommends to City Council that we go with Cal Poly to basically do this environmental impact report on the draft general plan. Do you have any questions?
No, bring it back. Any questions from council?
Yeah, is that essential that we have to have that with the general plan?
Yep, yeah, we...
Or is that just something that could come back if we didn't have it?
We couldn't adopt our general plan without doing an environmental review of it.
Okay.
I mean, so it's following the state codes to basically do an environmental impact report on it. Yeah. I suppose if we had very minor changes to a general plan, we could almost probably use what we had there before, but since the last general plan update in '98, there's a lot more stringent rules and regulations that you have to go through in almost all of the mandatory elements. So even if we took the old and kind of redid it, adding the necessary items, we probably would still need to have some kind of environmental study done. So it is a necessary item. And so once we do that environmental impact report and get it approved, then the general plan follows for approval.
What's the time links on an EIR for that?
I think for the
1 year.
Yeah, it's basically 1 year, or it's 9 months.
9
So
months.
starting in fall and ending, and then similarly to how the general plan was put together this last 9 months or 10 months, there'll be public meetings along the way and kind of outreach of that sort.
Do we need to have that before we finish our draft?
You need the environmental impact report completed before you can adopt the general plan.
Yeah.
Adopt the general, but not the draft.
Yeah. So the draft, I mean, can change with review of the environmental impact report. So the draft itself, I mean, we'd say that we have a final draft, but it can change basically over the next 9 months as well.
You're not going to adopt the draft, you're going to accept the draft and circulate it.
Okay.
That goes to my question of whether or not we should have already accepted the draft. And I know why we didn't do it at the meeting when we had the meeting over at the community center. We wanted to allow a little more time for public comment. But even after you accept the draft, you can still take public comment. So
Right.
at some point, we need to accept the draft.
Yes, which we're planning that for upcoming August meeting. So the Planning Commission will look at it to accept it. And you're basically saying this is a final draft that we want to start looking at for an environmental review. Because at some point, I mean, you can keep editing it, but you're saying, okay, we're in a pretty good spot. Let's start environmental review process.
And will the Planning Commission accept the draft or the
They
City
would
Council?
accept
Because
it
we had a joint meeting
they would
before.
accept it basically at the beginning of August is what we're planning. And then given
would come to
if
council.
they're happy with it and they send it forward to you, you would see it at the next regular meeting in August.
Okay, but we can go ahead and if we so desire, approve going with Cal Poly
Yep,
also
this
for the EIR without having accepted the...
Exactly. Yeah, this is just the contract to get in place. In the budget for this upcoming fiscal year, we've kind of programmed that number in, so basically all the pieces are in place.
Plus, they have the overall organization has to start assembling the organization to pull this together, and school is going to be starting pretty soon next month. So they want to have this contract in so they can start doing the logistical work to assemble the team when the students come back to school.
Yeah, so as long as we get the draft accepted in August, we'll be ready to roll.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments from the council?
Yeah, when's that due? The money.
The money?
Because I know this is not a $70,000 thing.
No, it's paid in installments.
Okay.
We
I
can
know
go
with
on.
our 31,000 over and another 70 here, we're circling the drain.
Yeah, it would be broken up into installments like how we pay for the general plan. I think it was every couple months there was, I mean, it was $36,000 to do the general plan. They broke it up into 4 payments. I think it was in the warrants actually for...
Does this have the breakdown of, I didn't pick up on it if it did.
I think in there somewhere it said it's basically going to be broken up after...
So we're pretty much looking at another $6,000 a month.
top of page 2.
Thank you.
Item 6.
I see it now, yeah. So 17.5 in 4 installments. But it's mandated, so we don't really have a choice. It's sort of like the thing that our clerk now has to do, where she takes the roll call vote instead of us just all going aye at once, or somebody saying, no, I don't want to.
But that's free.
Yeah, I know, but it's a mandate. It's a state mandate, and this is also a state mandate. There's lots of, what do they call them, unfunded state mandates? Things that we are required to do, but they are not funded. So we have to fund them.
I mean, of course, there was options we looked at. One, I mean, you could do it in-house, but I don't know if we have the staff for that. And I mean, looking at the other consultants that are out there, it's kind of in a reasonable range, I think, going with Cal Poly, given that they got the background and everything, and you know, the product that they've put together is you know, really professional.
So the
Yeah, I
general
was
plan was
pretty happy with-
36,000 and this is 70?
Yeah, and the increase is basically has to do with the number of studies that need to be done. So for an example, like traffic, you know, there's going to be more equipment necessary to get the numbers and things like that, whether it be traffic counting by hand or tube counters, you know, where they put out on the road. And then, I mean, there's going to be several other things, whether it be greenhouse gas review, noise review, and so forth. So there's a lot more professional studies, and I'm not exactly sure how Cal Poly, how they break it out, if they reach out to other departments, which they may, but they might also subcontract out to other professionals.
Tony, you have a question?
I know Cal Poly had general plans adopted by other cities that they've done, so that means that they've also therefore done the EIRs.
Yep, and I was able to review, because the last city that they worked for, they were doing a general plan update for the city of Clear Lake, and so I was able to see basically the finished product of the EIR. So you have this huge general plan, and then you have this huge environmental impact report, and I was able to see that and take a look at it, and I mean, it's all there, and you know, the city of Clear Lake will be, you know, adopting that probably pretty soon, since they finished up working with them.
And I didn't mean to make light of it by just calling it a mandate. It is important that cities have a general plan for how they're going to grow or not grow, as the case may be.
Tony, you have a question?
We're here, we're going to just approve this contract, right? So that they know, we know, and they know where we stand.
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, we're contracting with Cal Poly to do that for us. So.
Because of the fact that it's considerably cheaper than.
Do you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'd make a motion that we approve the general plan environmental impact report contract with Cal Poly, or the California Polytech. State University, San Luis Obispo.
Have a second?
Did we put this in the budget?
Yes.
Just wanted to make sure. I thought we did.
Did we have public comment?
You know, yes, I'm sorry. Is there anybody that'd like to speak on this general plan proposal from Cal Poly? Seeing none? Sorry.
You don't
Okay.
have a second to your...
I'm going to get one
I'll
right now.
second.
I need a
Yeah,
second.
I thought.
You seconded it? I'm
Okay, I
sorry.
already did.
Edge.
Okay.
And Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'm going to make a suggestion that this resolution add at the bottom, it says, now therefore be it resolved by the City Council hereby agrees to contract with Cal Poly to complete the project, but it doesn't refer to this specific contract, which I understand you are approving. So I would recommend that you add the sentence subject to review and approval by city attorney in an amount not to exceed $70,000 in accordance with the contract attached as Exhibit A.
Okay.
I hope you wrote that down.
Yeah, that was good, but I can't write that fast.
Well, I have it written down right here.
All right.
Okay, and then George can contract with Trish. Okay, I have
You
a,
want to make it as amended?
Oh, yeah, as amended.
There you go.
And the seconder of the motion also accepts the amendment.
Yes.
And then,
Would you like a roll call vote?
yes, I would.
Councilmember Cosio?
Aye.
Councilmember Bott?
Aye.
Councilmember Edge?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Mayor Lund?
Aye.
Mayor Moore?
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes unanimously.
Okay, thanks.
That was 2014-27 in case I
Okay.
just told you
Okay. 6B, receive strategic planning committee report and provide direction. Hi, Chris.
Hello,
Go.
Mr. Mayor.
It's all yours.
Chris Margarena, 97 4th Street. I'm the chairman of the Strategic Plan Committee, and I think you have a copy of the report before you. Yeah. Yes? Okay. I'm just going to read quickly. The Strategic Plan Committee has been actively participating in the general plan process through the advisory committee and the revision process. Our revision focus has been the strategic plan element. Our subcommittees are prepared to take the relevant sections of the strategic plan element and begin moving forward with implementation. This would include prioritizing tasks and seeking out additional stakeholders, concerned individuals, and experts to participate in the process of forming tactical implementation plans. There's a list of the subcommittees that we have created already with the relevant draft plan elements listed below each committee. And we're looking at this point for the council's direction to proceed as described above.
Okay.
Any questions?
Okay.
I would like to just add.
Okay, go ahead.
I mean, basically, Chris and I have been working together. I'm also on the strategic planning committee, and I know the initial task for that committee was to create this strategic plan, which it's built into the general plan. And given that, we're circulating a draft that basically has a strategic plan in it. They're looking for that next step, which is going to be the implementation. One of the things that it's built into that general plan is that there's a lot of things to get done, and even though that plan wouldn't be adopted until a year later, we didn't really want the group, the strategic plan committee, to kind of sit dormant. With that said, a lot of the things that are in that draft are things that didn't get accomplished from last general plan, so you have a lot of carryover. The committee, the group wants to start implementing and getting the stakeholders together. And basically, what Chris had just went over, this is more like the next step of the strategic plan committee. So the first task was write this plan. It's in the general plan. And now they're saying, hey, this is what we think our next task is. So like Chris was saying, getting the direction for the committee to get moving on implementing things, even though it's a draft general plan, I think is very important.
Okay.
Yeah, I've always envisioned the strategic planning committee as being more of the implementation process.
As have most of the members of the committee, I think.
Well, maybe I'll have to join then if I agree with them. I just want to ask on the noise element, because it just brings to mind that we've been talking for a long time about having a noise ordinance, which we seem to be lacking in our ordinances. And I just wonder how that relates to this whole thing. And I know you don't have a lot of time to work on these things, but are we going to get a noise ordinance at some point? I think that a lot of the issues that come up for people could possibly be solved by a noise ordinance if it was enforced.
May I? I believe that within the noise element is a recommendation to create a noise ordinance for the city.
Thank you.
My recollection in going through the draft general plan, that is one of the elements that they have suggested for the agenda.
Yeah, and we've discussed it several times at council meetings. It's just one of the things that we don't have time
When Matt first
for.
came on, I asked him to give us a draft of it. It's sitting on my table, and we've been mulling with it and making sure that it meets the criteria, the general plan, as well as other features of the vehicle code. And so we're going to continue to work on that, and with Matt number 2 coming on, that'll be another task for him, and then we'll see if we can get that back in front of the Strategic Plan Committee with some recommendations and move forward on that.
So it requires some input from law enforcement
Yes.
in
Yeah.
order to,
Yes.
as well as looking at the general plan element, noise
Yes.
element.
Yes, so,
Thank
so that strategic plan element, it ties into all the other elements. And then within it, I mean, there's a matrix that has the strategic plan committee where they have a little checked box as something that they would work on. So for an example for that would be, you know, the city of San Juan Bautista, they want to start a farmer's market. And that's where the little box would be checked off for the strategic plan committee to take on that task. Something more like coming up with a noise ordinance and things like that, it would be from the noise element. And then you would see, city staff, and then the little box would be checked off for, us to work on getting something like that together.
Us as the strategic plan, or
No, the city.
As the city.
Staff.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm kind of
yeah.
interwebbed with all of it.
You're both, so I had to clarify.
Any other comments? Rick?
I think noise ordinance would be like the speed limits.
Well, everything requires enforcement if you want to. And it doesn't always require a lot, just a few times sometimes.
Maybe the Harleys that don't meet the noise requirements with the vehicle code.
Or just all bikes and cars in general.
Rich Brown always used to say we had to buy a decibel meter.
Yeah.
I thought we had.
They're only about $50 at Radio Shack.
You saw our clerk's T-shirt, didn't you, before you said Harleys?
No.
I
was waiting for them to throw a spitball at me.
Actually, I find it almost as bothersome when they crank up the stereos as they drive by. Those can be pretty loud.
It's all areas, all avenues.
Yeah, it's
bikes,
where you are,
cars,
it's what time of day it is.
Radios.
Yeah. Anyway, it looks like a good plan to me.
I think it's fine. You want to add anything, Matt, or?
No, I think
or Chris?
I think one of the other things that Chris might want to touch base on, I mean, since it's kind of going from, writing up the new plan, like I said, having finished that task, now implementation. I don't know, did you want to talk about the other point about you as the chairman and so forth there?
Well, we'd like to replace Matt with Matt Orbach as officially on the committee, and I would like, I'm actively looking for someone to replace me as the chair. I don't want to leave the committee, but I do think with my, I'm going to be running for city council, and I prefer not to be the chair and be able to discuss things a little more freely and not have it be misunderstood as my position as the chair of the strategic plan committee. So that's, I think, what Matt's referring to.
Okay.
So again, we're looking for direction from you guys to go ahead with this plan that I've outlined, or other direction for our activities in the near term. Is this acceptable to you guys?
Yeah. How were you selected as chairman?
Voted by the community, by the members of the committee.
So can you do that again within the committee without
certainly.
bringing in somebody from?
Certainly, I just wanted to inform you as part of the report that was our intent, or my intent.
Good. I see Matt looking intently. Did he have something to say? Okay.
Okay. Do we need just formal?
Sort of accept the report and
Informal
say,
approval.
Yeah.
good job?
Okay, then action.
You're just receiving the report.
Okay, that's fine.
So, so directed, or how do we, am I?
You know, I'd like
am
to
I
weigh in
marching
on
order?
that. I was just going to say, before we moved on, one of the reasons why a lot of these things didn't get done after the 98 general plan is because the city didn't take the lead in forming committees and so forth. It just kind of fell by the wayside, fell through the cracks. We have a committee now that was actively involved in formulating the strategic plan. And my feeling is that whatever part of it you guys want to go with, do it. Because that's what we need at this point. We need somebody to sit down and say, okay, what do you say we work on this one? And then do it. As far as the city goes, you know, it all should be accomplished. Only what's worked on is going to be accomplished. But it's going to take somebody to take the initiative and choose something and say, or two or three things, and get committees working on them and develop some accomplishment. And if you need to come back to the council, you know, you can. But we need, at this point, we need people to work on these things.
Well, and we have 5 active committees, again, that have between 1 and 5 of the elements of the strategic plan, or the draft general plan, excuse me, as falling under their sort of umbrella. So it sounds like you're comfortable with our direction.
Oh, totally. Personally, I am.
Yeah. Yes.
I think that whatever appeals to you guys as a group is what you're going to work hardest on.
Certainly.
And I trust that you'll go after the things that really need to be done. And I don't think you need us to tell you. I think you guys know better. So
I think
that's the way I feel about it.
Yeah.
If I can add a point on that too, so the strategic plan committee was working, you know, on their own, and then we had the general plan start up, and when we took the information that was gathered from both groups, I mean, it was pretty much a mirror image. So a lot of the concerns we heard from the community in the general plan outreach was similar to what the strategic plan committee had already worked on. So I think however they structure and say, hey, this is the most important, this is second and on down, and they start implementation, I think it'll be a reflection of what the community wants and needs.
Rick, you want to go first?
How involved is the community with this?
Pardon me?
How involved is the community with this?
The community?
Yeah, I mean, are they giving you good insight about what you need, and are they, you know, very voluntarily in telling you or giving information in?
Well, we've ranged from 15 to 20 or 22 members, active members. It's a pretty, I'd say it's a reasonable cross-section. We've had additional members of the community at different meetings participate. We have had a subset of members that have participated in the general plan process. So I went to all of the general plan meetings. I know several of the other committee members attended most or all of those meetings as well. So yeah, I mean, I think we've gotten decent input, but we haven't had much to really talk about. Now we're at the point where we have the draft general plan close. We have the strategic plan element more specifically for us to take on, and we have now the material to take to the community and talk more specifically about smaller pieces rather than global strategies. That's why I said tactical implementation plans. What are we going to do about the specific issue? Who are the stakeholders involved? Parking, the parking along 2nd Street's been a conversation piece recently. I think that's one of the things that we would clearly take on and organize so we haven't had that participation necessarily up to this point, but part of what we're here to do is to go out and get the right person and bring them into the process.
I just kind of, with some of the issues that have happened lately, when we go to approve something and everybody's in an uproar because they weren't there from the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we, then now we're backtracking, we're paying attorney fees, and you know,
I
it's
think-
really hurting the city, and you know, if they just get involved, they know what's going on, we don't have to do it twice.
Well, I agree, and I think that there's certainly an assumption of responsibility as a citizen that you're going to inform yourself. But I think certainly as the chairman of the committee, I'm very much interested in not assuming that people are going to take that initiative and going out and proactively connecting with people that we can identify as having vested interest, number one, or just general, you know, parts of the general population, community that would be interested. I think that there's a lot of things we can do beyond what the requirements are. For instance, we have to post our agendas 3 days in advance, just like you guys do. You know, that's a minimum requirement. That doesn't mean that's all we do. I think we go pound the pavement and talk to people and hand out flyers and discuss it. And again, breaking those things down into smaller chunks so that it's more directly relevant to what your particular issue is. That's one of the reasons that government and communications is the name of one of our subcommittees. Government and communications go hand in hand. There's definitely a feeling amongst the committee that there's an opportunity for improving the communication between the city government, the county, the state, the surrounding counties, and the community here. And so those are all issues that have been taken up and been discussed.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other?
Rick, on the funding for this, is there any funding? They've never asked for any funding.
That's correct.
And is there any reason why the strategic plan committee should be like a 501c or something and try to come up with funding? Because I know the city doesn't have a lot of money to give them. We provide them a place to meet and not a whole lot else as far as support. Is there any reason why they need any kind of funding?
Well, I think if they're...
Yes, the chairman. You need any money?
Well, Rick's also on the committee, aren't you?
Yeah, but I'm not active.
Okay.
I would say that you've got a pretty broad umbrella, large umbrella of activities to say that the strategic plan would be, the strategic plan committee would convert to that sort of form. I don't know if that makes sense.
Do you need funding?
There are certainly elements to what we've discussed that would require funding. There's a meeting next Tuesday that was sort of a grassroots group that's gotten together. They have previously worked at the school on the tennis courts, and they now have a couple of other projects in mind. And so there's a planning meeting.
Sometimes, though, you could be under another umbrella, like the
right. Well,
tennis.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So they already have created 501c3. The REACH. Val Eglin spoke earlier. The REACH group. You know, that is another. I think that our role is more about wrangling the cats and getting those people together and facilitating, as opposed to handling it at that level. But it could evolve into that. It's hard to say at this point.
Okay,
the city's financial responsibility is that we provide all the copy and the paperwork and supporting the staff throughout that there. And then there's the other element is city pride, is that the people that serve on that has got a deep pride in the city, and they step forward and they don't have to be compensated or remunerated for their services. They do it out of the respect of their community.
Yeah, and you provided Matt and now our new Matt. I'm going to say new Matt instead of Matt too. And then the other thing is in order to stay connected with the council, wouldn't this fit in with when we give our committee reports? If there is a member of the council who's on the strategic plan, they can give a report out for.
I don't think it has to be a regular report, because that strategic plan committee is going to be doing a lot of investigative work to come up with a strategy, implementation, and it's going to gel with the general plan. And they can, anytime, approach us and say, come to the agenda and then make a report. Come to the council and make a report.
Right, yeah,
We're going to be making a report to the planning commission also.
I jotted down updates to council, and it should be planning commission as necessary. But I was also thinking it might fit in with our committee reports, as long as there's a member of the council on.
I
That's all.
would say whoever makes the report would satisfy our needs to get information, but if you want more information, you could join the committee and attend the meetings. But we'll have our planning person on that committee
And they can
going
report on
forward.
it.
And so
Something's going
they
on.
can
That's
make
true.
a report to you if you want to know more about what they're doing.
That's true, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Good work?
Thank you.
Okay.
I think I've gotten a thumbs up for
Yeah.
everybody. Tony, yes? Good?
Thanks a lot, Chris.
Begrudgingly, thank you very much.
Is there anybody from the public who'd like to speak on this issue?
Or volunteer?
Okay, Dave, go ahead.
So we're asking we were asking for directions and we got directions.
Right.
And so the follow-up will be, will the city council, I understand what you were saying, that the planning commission should follow up and measure ourselves to that, to the strategic plan itself, the one that's going to go into the general plan. But at the same time, I hear the city council wants to be more part of this. So asking for the strategic plan, doesn't that become part of the agenda? As far as city council is concerned. I mean,
Well, I think the answer was what Rick said about.
What happened in 1998 to this date, you know, are we asking ourselves that we need to be more involved to make sure that these things are closed or these things are completed or whatever? We got a committee, so is it going to be just the planning commission or is it?
Dave, I think it's more important is that the legislative body is the funding source for all the programs. The more you can keep them abreast of the programs and the objectives of your implementation, the better they're equipped is when they prepare the budget that says, let's appropriate funds to implement this and this and this. That's part of the dialogue.
Okay, I just don't want to get into year 2020 where we haven't done anything yet.
Yes.
Yeah, we want to prevent that from happening.
Good.
Yeah, Matt, Matt number 2.
Don't get that started.
I also think that Chris and Matt and myself sat down and talked about what we were going to do first, and I think putting together, picking and choosing those projects from the strategic plan and the general plan is going to be one of the very first things. So I'll be the one assembling reports for you guys, so I'll make sure to, as soon as we assemble that list, at least report on it at the next meeting so you are abreast of what we're doing.
Could you state your name for the record, please?
Matt Orbach, assistant planner.
Matt, I can't recall. Did you want to introduce yourself and what, you're coming on board?
Yes.
Well, yeah, Matt's one of our new
employees.
employees.
Working on this general plan.
Yeah.
And now I'm an assistant planner here in San Bautista. So I'm working part-time on a lot of these projects and looking forward to getting involved with everything.
So you'll be working with the other Matt?
Until he leaves shortly here. So everyone might not know that, I guess, but he's taking vacation. So.
Are you coming back?
Yes.
We hope. It's a long vacation.
Well, thank you, Matt. Welcome to San Juan City. Thank you so much. Okay. I believe they have their direction, right?
Yeah, I think so. But what Rick said was important too, to
Right.
what they're asking about reports and stuff. There's not going to necessarily be a report every month, like I was asking about. There will be a report as something comes up that's necessary to report to the council.
Or Matt can come to the council.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Item 6C. Provide direction to the city manager on a redevelopment loan for a property at 206 6th Street. Roger?
And I'm going to turn this over to Bob Rathie.
Okay.
He's researched that. Yes.
I can provide a little, borrow the mic back here on that. Yes, Mr. Mayor and Council, this matters before you tonight just basically for information and some direction on a loan that we were advised the city is on the title report showing for the property at 206 6th Street. The loan was apparently made back in the mid-1980s, around 85, under a program the city had at that time. We're conjecturing for redevelopment purposes. It was through the CDBG program, we believe, where loans were given out for property improvement and that type of thing. So there was quite a bit of money available at that time for these types of loans. This loan was made in the amount of $17,875. Generally, these types of loans, and I can't speak to it because I haven't seen the note, had the payment deferred until the property was actually sold. That was generally the way that they worked, and that's probably why this obligation has stayed on the title to this point. The property has transferred several times, but it's always been within the family. And Mr. Adrian Landeros had contacted me, and I believe he's here this evening, and might want to address the council and explain the plans for the property. Are you? Sure.
How you doing? Your name? Your
Adrian
name.
Landeros, and this is my wife, Mandy Landeros. Basically, we're just trying to buy the property there. It's, my grandmother currently owns it, and we're just trying to get this lien thing cleared up so we can get in there and start some renovation.
Okay, is that the only loan on that property?
Yeah.
Okay.
The only obligation on the title report.
Okay, and that loan was given out in the 80s by the city of San Juan?
That's correct. It was under a program that at that time was apparently administered by the Bank of America, and then the bank assigned the beneficial interest to the city 6 months or so after the loan was granted.
Okay. So,
What, I'm confused.
The problem with having that loan on the title, they would like to buy the property from their grandmother, is my understanding. I don't want to put word in your mouth. But, and then the title company will not issue title insurance with the city in first position.
well, yeah, I understand that,
Right.
but doing these in Watsonville, when title is changed, there was a first, a second, city of Watsonville, that, the first got paid, the second got paid, until there was a time, 3 or 4 years ago, where everybody was upside down, and people, then these programs didn't get their money back. But I'm saying, if that's the only loan on there, we should be entitled to the, the amount owed.
Right.
And then they can, get a first deed of trust. You're going to get a bank,
Right.
and then
Right.
and they pay back the city of San Juan.
Is this an owner finance?
The owner finance.
Owner finance,
Yeah.
so that's where that, okay.
That's where the title insurance company is having a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
Now, they have stated that if the city, we could look at something depending on your direction, and if Roger was okay with this transaction as well, we might agree to subordinate our loan to possibly other financing. If you had, at that point, you could probably get financing on that property and pay us off.
Let me ask you a
That's one-
question. Can you pay the $17,000?
Yeah, I just need some documentation just to see what I'm paying, and,
It seems pretty simple to
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
He writes a check,
If you can
takes
pay
it
us
to the
off,
title
we can
company, and
reconvey,
they
we
clear
will
it.
reconvey the loan on, and I think we can agree that, or I would propose that we consider, since we're unable to, at this point, establish what the interest rate is, that we would agree to reconvey upon payment of the principal.
A lot of them, Bob, were zero. I mean, if you kept it for a period of 30
Right.
years.
There's a bit of
it was
number, you're right.
forgiven. A lot of them were 2%, 1%, 0, whatever. I mean, there are all these different
Right.
programs.
And
But-
of course, there were higher interest rates in those days as well.
But I don't,
Yeah.
The way I look at it,
Yeah.
he needs to get clear title to the property.
I understand.
Okay, he writes us a check for $17,875.
Right.
We don't know what the interest rate was,
Right.
and that goes to the title company, we reconvey, and the note's cleared and paid, and then you have clear title.
Right.
And then you can do whatever you want.
And this is currently a unoccupied property, is it not?
It doesn't make any difference what it is. He
Well, it's
wants
just
to
good
get
for
it.
the neighborhood to get it occupied.
The problem is it's an owner finance, right? That
No.
Well-
There's no owner financing on this. There's no loan on this property other than the 1785,
Okay.
right?
But you're purchasing it from your
Well,
grandmother.
We're going through, First American.
I don't know, I
So
understand
there
what
will be a
Robert's
note
saying.
back to the grandmother.
Yeah, the
Well, yeah,
grandmother
the
is
grandmother,
carrying,
I mean,
she's
whatever-
gonna.
whatever
If it was like
either
a
deed
regular
or-
bank
or-
financing
or-
it, they'd
or
be
carry.
saying, okay, we're gonna write a check to this person and put this in the loan and do that.
Yes.
I
So-
think you're just complicating things there.
If we could do that,
Just
if we can
have
agree
him
to
pay
do
this
that,
off,
you
and
can-
then
in the
him and
escrow-
his grandmother can do whatever they want.
In the escrow, we can talk to the escrow officer tomorrow, if you like, with Estrada, if you want to give her a call. And if you can arrange to pay the 17,875 in the escrow, then we'll agree to reconvey, provided the council is okay with that.
The only thing I have with that, and I'm curious, on the interest rate, how that thing was, where the city, I'm not trying to, drive home a high interest rate, but zero, was it 2%, 3% since that date, not leaving something on the table?
Yeah, that I can't tell you because I
Yeah,
don't
I
have
mean, I
access to
don't-
the note.
Well, if you can't, nobody has the original note. Is that correct?
It has to be recorded, otherwise it
That's
can't
what
reflect it
that's
on
what
the
I'm thinking.
title
I don't know what
report.
the title company is
The
doing.
note is not recorded.
The note is not recorded?
No, the notes are not recorded.
Well,
Notes are
then
not
how
recorded.
did they find it in the title
It's on the
report?
deed of trust. There's a deed of trust recorded on
It
it.
had to be.
Doesn't the deed of trust give the terms?
Only the principal.
If we haven't been collecting interest all this time, how can we go after it now?
Well, yeah, I mean,
Well, that's, and then I know that in 1985, I was working in Gilroy. The city of Gilroy had administered a program similar to this, where you could borrow money, improve your property, so you had a lot of termite damage or whatever, and it was zero interest, and you didn't have to make any payments or anything until you sold the house.
Right, do on sale.
And it was a pretty,
oh, they were
did a
low
lot of
interest
it.
rate.
But did it ever sunset? It never sunsetted then.
And there is, and that's the other thing. If it stayed in the family,
It is staying in the family, it
Well,
sounds like.
the ones they did in Gilroy, if it stayed, I think, I can't remember. I shouldn't say.
It's transferred several times within
Yeah.
the family.
Okay.
But
Is this a gift of public funds? I mean, I'm all for going forward with this, getting the house occupied, getting it improved. It sounds like it was a program that was run a long time ago for just that purpose. But could we get in any trouble for giving a gift of public funds
Well,
to
we're
forgive
making
the accrued
inquiries with
interest?
HCD and HUD right now to see if we can find out any information, but we haven't learned anything yet.
Okay. But can we get in any trouble for that if we are?
Without having seen the agreements, I can't really
Okay.
speculate, but
But since you're the one who's going to be looking into it, if you see a problem,
Oh, sure.
we're covered.
So can we resolve this tonight, or do we wait for you to get?
well, I think you've given us enough direction to proceed. If we can clear the principal in the escrow and get that paid off, then we can probably take care of some arrangement for any contingent interest or till we find out what it might be.
I think that's smart, because if it's 4 or 5% goes back, I mean, then we settle, then we're on the hook. I mean, if
the deed of trust doesn't show any interest rate,
right,
then we can't determine what we didn't
No,
get.
what I'm saying is, I guess contact HCD or somebody.
We're doing that.
To see what that grant's all about.
We're doing that now.
Yeah, back in 1985, and then report back to us, say, no, there wasn't any interest rate, interest attached to it, and then they can come back and give us direction, so we can give staff direction what we want to do. But I'm worried about if they come back and they say, well, you know what, it was 6% on the 17, hypothetically, and then we don't collect that, and we're gone, and they said, hey, City of San Juan, we want that 6% on that $17,000 since 1985. Then we're hung out, because we can't go back, to this gentleman.
I would say is if we waive the interest fee, we would have a stipulation to, of some sort, hold harmless the city.
Good, yeah, okay,
Well,
that's,
whatever.
that's what I wanted
I
to
just don't
hear.
want to get hung out.
It's just unbelievable, the records are, we don't
Yeah.
have records of this. I didn't
Yeah.
even know we
Would you be
had this
agreeable
kind
with
of
that as
program.
well? It would be basically, you'd be holding the city harmless for any interest that was determined to be due in the future.
So, like if I pay the 17,
Right. Then
Yeah.
we would reconvey at that point so that you could take title with title insurance. Then at some point, whatever you decide to do with the house, you'll be able to get a loan on it or whatever. Right now, you probably can't get a commercial loan on it because we're in first position.
Does that make sense to you?
a little bit, a little lost, but I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's
You might want to talk to the
I
escrow
read this
officer.
whole thing,
You might want
it's
to talk to an
confusing.
attorney too. I
Yeah,
recommended
talk to
that, you folks did handle this through the law firm there in Hollister. I don't know if you had a chance to talk to them. You might want to talk to them.
I haven't talked to them since you talked to them, I think last week.
I actually never talked to the law firm. I've only talked to the escrow officer.
All right.
Yeah, I've not talked to the firm. So you might want to talk to them and just explain to them that they were the ones that handled the transactions from the original borrower, who was a woman by the name of Yolanda Anderson back in the 80s.
Oh.
So it'd be a good idea to talk to them to protect your rights as well.
Okay.
Give you that much advice.
Okay.
We'll get it straightened out.
All right.
Do you want to give direction to the city manager and I to work together on this and try to resolve it, or do you want us to bring it back to you at a subsequent meeting?
You can,
I'd like to kind of hear what
I
the
wanna-
final
yeah, you
is
can bring it
before
back
it's
next
actually
month.
done.
Okay, so that will delay things a little bit.
let us know what you find out.
I mean, I know you want to get this through, but I just want to,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
But we'll definitely try to work with you.
Thank you.
I took the liberty of assuring them that the city was supportive of their efforts to fix this property up
Yeah.
and rehabilitate it, so I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know a neighbor who's been complaining about it.
Got it.
206. Okay, action item 6D, consider a recommendation by the planning commission to bring together responsible parties to discuss options to the parking in the city.
Yeah, so, good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Last month, we brought forward to you basically direction from the Planning Commission to call all the stakeholders together to talk about parking within the city. Staff has put together a letter that would go out to those stakeholders. The letter is in your packet. The letter is planned to be set out to the Monterey Diocese, calling the bishop, San Juan School District, inviting the superintendent, and then the California State Parks, inviting their top person, which would probably be superintendent. Basically, we're calling out in this letter the issues that we've heard from several different sources, some of them being unorganized visitor parking results in unsafe crowding of streets, blocking signage and crosswalk visibility and noise. Clear and accessible available parking options are needed. Overflow into residential neighborhoods of tourists or from tourist destinations, as well as crowded street drawing events. So these are some of the things that it would be good to get all of those stakeholders together at the table. I think from last meeting that we had, it was also identified to invite business owners, as they too are a part of helping this be resolved. So anyways, this letter will be from the city council and from the mayor going out to these stakeholders to basically call them together to have a meeting to see what we can do to address these issues. One of the things that was put together from a result of contracting with Cal Poly with their general plan was there was several students that worked on implementing parts of the general plan. One of the students worked on a downtown parking study and management plan. So in that study, there's kind of a lot of things looking at inventories of parking during the week, regular weekday, during a weekend day, and during an event type day. And so there's a lot of information calling out where are those vacant lots that could be possible off-street parking and things like that. And so that's a document that we can use and pass out to the other stakeholders to say, hey, these are some of the things that we've identified from this this study that was put together. So that's at our fingertips. And that, of course, was a student project that was basically gifted to the city as parking study.
Okay. Any questions?
So with the letter, I mean, we're looking for your direction to see if this is a good letter, if there's any tweaks you need to make, and then we would get the mayor's signature to shoot it out to those stakeholders.
Andy?
Yeah, go ahead.
Tony and I were originally appointed to serve on this committee.
Right.
And it occurs to me, and we talked about this before the meeting, that there are other pieces of property in town that could be used as a parking lot, either permanently or temporarily, maybe under a lease. And I think we need to involve those property owners in this meeting, because we, the four entities listed here, can't go to another property owner who's not part of this study group and say, hey, you know, we're looking at your property too. We need to get them involved in the whole process from the beginning.
Yeah. And that might be good to identify those properties and then call them.
Yeah, because right now we're looking at like the parking by the soccer field. We're looking at the parking next to the teaching center over here. There's other lots in town that are in the downtown area.
Good point.
Like behind Mom and Pop's. That and the lot that Ralph Lopez had to rent for parking for the hotel. And, you know, these are pieces of property that are not being used for parking now, but possibly could be.
Right.
And we need to look at all of them, not just the two that I mentioned.
No, you're right.
How do you recommend we come up with that list, just from what was maybe identified in the report as kind of open vacant parcels that could be potential
we have
opportunities?
We have a pretty good list.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So
anything
we could include them on the list to mail out that invitation to
and try and get them involved in the group meeting.
I never did understand that about that Lopez lot. Number one, I didn't understand why he had to do it, but then.
He didn't have enough parking on the property. And
I was
so
on the planning
city,
commission at the time.
What's
and
that?
I was on the planning commission at the time. He had enough parking on site, and somebody, I'll leave her name out of it, but took it to a judge in Monterey. And he said that Ralph had to have an additional 10 parking spots or something like that.
Yeah.
That's why he had to go lease that piece of property. Now, why it is blocked off now, I don't understand. I don't know how long a lease he had or anything.
I think the lease was for 10 years,
It
and
might
when it
be.
expired, nobody hassled them, so he let it
And
go.
so, but that was, but there again, that lot is just sitting
She
there.
filed suit? She filed suit, is that what you said?
Oh, yeah. She used to live in a brewery.
I thought it was me who went back in time all the time, Tony.
You like it?
Also,
You're older than me.
you're going to include business owners then on this letter, you said?
Property owners.
Well, property owners also, but Matt also mentioned including business owners in your list of city manager, bishop, superintendent. Was that what you were saying?
Yeah, I was saying the
No.
business owners. I mean, if there was
Maybe the downtown not
I just don't know if
downtown,
we would send it out to
the
all
council
of them.
subcommittee.
My recommendation was not for business owners, just for property.
No, I know,
owners.
but when Matt was speaking, he mentioned also including business owners.
Yeah, that was brought up at last month's meeting. I think is Larry Gerbrandt had mentioned, hey, it would be good to have business.
It would be, one of the business owners said that.
Because it'll
But what
affect
about the
them.
San Juan
Yeah,
Chamber
in one way.
subcommittee?
Yeah, we can have.
Because I'm trying to think of how you would format that, because you have a specific, City of San Juan, diocese, school district, parks. How would you include, you can't just say business owners, maybe San Juan Chamber subcommittee? I don't know, it was just a suggestion for how to include that.
Realistically, I don't think we can get the business owners to come up with any money to grade and provide some kind of a surface for any of these lots that we look at that we
Yeah.
might be able to get for parking.
It was just
So
the
the
suggestion that it affects them
The city's
too.
going to have to pay for it and then hope to recover that cost through sales tax revenue because we'd have better parking for people. It should increase the people coming into town and therefore they'd spend more money in the businesses and generate more tax revenue for the city.
That's if we're talking about any lot for parking cars or whatever. A lot of this has to do with buses and unsafe parking of buses. And I don't think it's when they're loading and unloading. I haven't heard people complaining a lot about where the buses load and unload. They load and unload where they're letting their people off. It's where the buses go park after they've loaded and unloaded. And I'm wondering if, because I don't think the city should have to pay for that, because those buses are mostly coming for the state park and the mission. Not all of them, but the majority of them. That's why they're here. And it doesn't really benefit the city particularly. But I am wondering if somebody like the diocese said, okay, you can use this big lot over here that we own, but the approach needs to be improved in order for the buses to get into the lot. Would the city have interest in improving that approach in order to get the buses off of our street? But I don't think we're going to be paving parking lots for buses to park that are here mainly to see the state park and the mission. It just doesn't benefit the city.
Do you think we can get money from the state parks to pay for that?
I have no idea.
Well, I think the conversation you're having is probably one that would be taking place at
At
bringing
this
everyone
meeting.
together.
Okay.
The other thing too I want to mention, because Rick, you were talking about the business owners. I mean, it's a comprehensive look of everything. I mean, if you have business owners parking in front of their businesses, they're taking away parking from the visitor and locals
Right,
to
that's
patrons.
basically
So
car parking.
Right,
Is that
but-
what we're talking about, or are we talking about the buses?
it's a whole comprehensive parking
Comprehensive.
issues. Yeah, that's
Well,
what we're focusing on.
Someone asked me the other day, why don't we have parking meters? And I went, oh, I'd like to see get that one through. But it would prevent this all-day parking on the main street or this street here. I mean, this street here, they drop those kids off and they park those school buses here. And George got on me last meeting, but now that we're talking about it, what I was going to suggest is that we get 6 no bus parking signs and put them all the way along here. And then let those school bus drivers try to figure out where to park.
I wasn't going to be that mean.
Yeah, that's
You're not going to stop them any other way.
I just want to try to open up a parking lot that seems to me like it's available.
And then the other thing that I think, and David's here too, the planning commission has to enforce, in our ordinance, it requires restaurants, bars, apartments, whatever, to have a certain number of parking spots per square foot or per bedroom or whatever. And the planning commission has got to enforce that. It's never been done before, and if you look around, all these restaurants and bars don't have any parking.
They're
They have
existing.
no off-street
That's only
parking.
new buildings.
And
It doesn't apply to existing.
That's what I'm saying, you can't do it now, but you've got to start enforcing it. Okay, you take that lot on Washington Street that the guy wants to build something on. I don't care what it is he wants to build.
Oh, yeah.
The planning commission has to enforce, if he needs 10 parking spots, he's got to have 10 parking spots.
They are.
That's being implemented now, and the commission is very sensitive to that. But I think the answer to what Jolene is saying is, what Matt wants to do is pull the stakeholders together, and they're going to discuss exactly what Rick said. There's bus parking, there's merchant parking, customer parking. There's a lot of issues in parking, and it's a big problem. And there's elements there where we can say, hey, let's take care of the visitors to the state park, the mission, and the buses. But then there's the merchants downtown and these vacant lots. And so that's going to develop out of this group, this consortium of stakeholders, and to where we have that. Now the solution might be is that signage and and a meter maid enforcement might be one, and the other one is and I did it in Hollister, a downtown parking assessment district, where the merchants got together and says, customer parking is important to us. Let's develop parking lots. Every new shopping center, they make it absolutely imperative that they have convenient parking for their customers in front of their store so they can go in and shop.
Yeah.
The older part of San Juan, like Hollister, developed by and large without parking. Now we want to make sure parking. Well, the role there is to say, hey, let's do a downtown parking assessment district and separate that cost equally until everybody around. Okay, that's one solution. That might not be the only solution, but that's one.
Yeah.
The other solution is and I know I've been at the Plan Commission for the last 3 years, and they've been adamant to implement parking requirements on all new development. On
Yeah.
the brewery, they said 31 parking stalls. And
31?
And he has to develop 31 parking stalls.
I would just echo George's sentiment, though, that basically this agenda item is to consider the recommendation to bring together the responsible parties.
Right.
Not necessarily to.
I know,
Yeah.
I know,
Yeah.
I slip it by you, and
You did, no, I'm more liberal than George.
I just want to,
He's better than me.
I just want to say, though, that I am having a little trouble with this letter, including everything about business, because to me, the 4 people that you have listed on this letter are the important people for bus parking. And I'm not sure that really involving downtown and all of the parking issues that the city has fits in with the problem that we're having with buses that are coming pretty much specifically. I mean, we have a few tour buses that come through, but most every bus that comes here is coming to go to either the state park or the Mission. And so that's why I would be tempted to say, let's leave this letter alone and deal separately with the issue of downtown parking.
yeah. Makes sense.
I know you want to combine the whole thing, but it doesn't quite work because it's not the same thing.
Anytime you limit parking along here, it's going to naturally flow into downtown.
It affects it, yes.
I mean, they're directly tied.
But solve the bus problem, and you've done a lot for downtown parking.
The agenda item doesn't say anything about buses.
Everything listed says unorganized visitor bus parking, clear and ADA accessible, available. Well, no, that says something else. You're right.
Betterment of parking opportunities for both residents and visitors.
Yeah, you're right. There's several
Residents
things.
don't drive buses.
No, but they park where the buses park. I don't know. Okay, I see it as a bus issue.
I agree
All right,
with Rick.
let's-
I
Okay.
see it in front of, the buses, you know, on a busy day, you could have all 2nd Street, even in front of my house, buses. And then I see the parents that are caravanning, then they're forced down McCollum, and these offshoot streets into the city, in these little shops, like, they're pushed off a 2nd. So where they're going maybe to 3rd. So I kind of like the idea to invite these lot owners and see what, maybe,
Okay.
it wouldn't hurt.
Hopefully they've changed their mind. I mean, we had a parking committee, I don't know how many years ago, 10 years ago, and the bishop just said, you know what, I have anything to do with it, I don't know if it was a liability problem or what on that big lot, because that was the only one we were kind of looking at that time,
Well, maybe it'll help that they are looking at other lots.
yeah, because, and then, is there even somebody that's running the state park now? I mean, is there a
I
superintendent?
don't think there's a ranger, but there's got to be somebody giving direction.
There was an interim superintendent,
Oh,
which was
there is?
Stuart Organo, but I mean, I assume he's still there. I
Oh.
haven't seen him for a while. No?
There's not. There's no interim.
There's nobody,
There you go.
And this house has been vacant for
Right.
how many years?
what, this
Ever
one right
since
next
Eddie
door?
left.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's been vacant since Eddie?
Since Eddie
Can,
left.
Yeah, since Eddie
can we
left.
just say
Give us the house.
for the subcommittee to work with Matt and get this letter to where it makes the subcommittee happy and not worry about the other 3 of us for now?
I don't have a problem. I kind of agree
Well-
with Rick. I think, if there's some available lots. 'Cause
Yeah,
I've
let's
seen
check it out.
The
What's the worst that
buses,
can happen?
They take up Second Street, and the parents come in, and they're scrambling for parking.
But-
What do?
But the point, Andy, is what we're supposed to do right now is approve or disapprove of this letter.
Well, can we make an addition?
Or we
I
can
think
ask
that's
the
what we did.
subcommittee to do that.
That's what we did.
Yeah, just
did.
make an
We made
addition,
an addition
lot owners, and,
Okay.
parcels.
Potentials.
Invite them to
Including
the
them
table.
as responsible parties.
Right, and invite them to the, table. So, okay.
Okay,
I'm good with
I'm
it.
good with it.
Okay.
Well, Rick, when you and I get a chance, we'll,
Yes.
Yeah, he can run it by us and see what we think.
yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
There's a handwritten letter in here. What is that all about?
That was a letter that
This is
came through,
Duncan?
I think recently, and is basically kind of just pointing out the parking. I don't know if it's in my packet, but
Is
Well-
she talking about Second Street?
Yeah, the only way it relates is that it's talking about fourth graders, so, that letter?
Yeah.
I think she was concerned about the speed of the things and its relationship to the children walking on the street, and she suggested maybe a speed bump to slow down the traffic.
Here on Second Street?
She doesn't say
Franklin.
where. Is it
Franklin Street.
On Franklin.
Oh,
She has the Fault Line Restaurant. She's concerned about the children on Franklin Street and the traffic on Franklin Street.
And we will go up and investigate it.
I just happen to know that Roger's working on a pricing on speed bumps. So.
We're gonna make raised crosswalks. It's better than speed bumps.
Okay. Done?
And now we're really in trouble with the attorney.
6E, consider a proposal by David Nichols to purchase a city fire truck.
Okay.
Roger?
All right. The city council declared this fire truck surplus back in August 16th, of 2011, and we've had several people interested in it over the years. And to our dismays, after getting it running and cleaning it up and everything, it had a leak in one of the tanks. And the prospective buyer that was really serious about it kind of backed off on it, and now we haven't had anybody else in the last several months looking at it. Well, Dave Nichols came forward. He's also the individual that's proposing to do the drop-off facilities, and he's offered a sum of $2,000. And I told him I'd bring it to the council. I think it's a reasonable thing, and so it's really up to the city council to surplus it at that price.
Does anybody know what the cost to repair it is?
Well, repairing it, and, I mean, it's not something that could go back into service.
Service, no. Yeah.
No?
No.
It wouldn't be useful to us?
No, due to the date, the tire, the wear, actually the tank for that exceeds the amount now. It has a 1,000-gallon tank. Now they're like 5 and 750. They're doing smaller tanks on them.
Wouldn't that be a good thing to have then?
What's that?
Wouldn't that be a good thing to have
It'd be
then?
a good thing, but it'd be considered more as a water tender and not a fire engine. I'm not sure about the pump and the condition for that. Even when they're running good, they cost thousands.
Oh, okay.
Robert,
Well, we've already made it surplus
that's
anyway, so
double
it's kind
cost,
of moot,
right?
isn't it?
Yes. That's people can
Yeah.
drive that.
The question is
No,
the dollar
that
amount.
one's that's a single clutch, big block Chevy type. It does have a, it doesn't have an air brake system. It has a aero hydraulic system in it. It's
That might not be
5-speed.
good, yeah. So we wanted 25 and we're being offered 2,000?
But as is.
As is.
What's the
And
problem?
he's going to
you know?
move.
The only concern probably in that area would probably be is if we sold it, we couldn't sell it as a vehicle, we'd have to do it as parts. I'm pretty sure under the smog laws that no matter where you get or how much you pay for a vehicle or what you put on documentation, that you are held in legal by smog on that. So if you want to come up, I'll
Is it
just finish.
over 6,500 pounds? It's Still required? I thought.
I believe last time I did have to have it smogged before we were going to, due to the year.
Are you going to run it on the road or off-road?
I'm gonna recycle it.
Recycle.
Oh, recycle it. So you won't need to smog it.
I won't need nothing, I'm just gonna recycle it.
So that's why I'm saying if we do sell it, we're gonna have to sell it as a part and not as a vehicle.
You would
Which
think that
may
would release
require
us from liability, too.
A release from liability, we may have to do a junk certificate on it.
I can do that. Yeah, I do a lot of vehicles, and I just go down and turn the plates in.
I think
It's
the
got
terminology
junk
is
stuff.
a salvaged vehicle.
Yeah.
Mhm.
If we salvage, but salvage can still be brought on, back onto the road, and if we junk it, it automatically cannot be re-entered
Yeah, they
into the
take it off
system
there,
in California.
junk stuff.
It cannot be administered back into the system in California.
So basically, you're saying that this would not do anybody any good who lived in a rural area and wanted to have their own fire truck to run around or anything. It's better ought to just go out as parts and be done with it.
There's magazines with fire trucks in them that they would probably get a better deal than what we can give them.
Sounds
for a
good to me.
rural area.
Motion to
Well,
approve.
we've been trying to sell it for how many years?
Couple?
3 years?
3.
You want that Ford Ranger down there too?
I've talked to Mr. Ramsey.
We'll get it out of there.
All right. So,
That
what do we
they need a
need to
motion, I
do?
guess you'll
Motion
need-
to approve.
And then a second.
With the amendment?
Well, with the amendment that it's be sold as parts.
Yeah. And
Does
that'd
it- does
be
that work? Yeah.
Mandatory junked or salvaged.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I'm just gonna tear the whole thing
That would
apart.
just take the city out, I know, not stepping on either, Bob, but it'd take the liability out of us on
That sounds like fun. I tear
Release
them
the
apart and can't
liability.
remember how to put them back together again.
I'll take the motor.
Is there a second?
Okay, yeah, I got a second.
I can supply you with,
Wait a minute, then you can't vote.
but I can supply you with all the receipts on it to prove it's been recycled and stuff if you want that, you know.
Actually, just junk certificate before, transition the title and stuff. That'd be fine.
Yeah, we could amend the purchase or the sale agreement to provide for that.
Oh, yeah. Is there anybody from the public besides Mr. Nichols who want to address the fire issue? Seeing none, I'll bring it back. I have a motion to sell it. In your second, Tony?
Yeah.
Okay, and then I need a roll call vote.
Councilmember Cosio,
Aye, as amended, right? Aye.
As it was
Councilmember Bach,
Aye.
Councilmember Edge,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lund,
Aye.
Mayor Moore.
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion as stated by the maker passes unanimously.
Okay, 6F, consider authorization the city manager to purchase a 400 amp QED switchboard panel for well site number 3.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, my throat's getting kind of sore. This goes back to our water problem. The purpose of this 400 amp panel is to get the sanitary lift station at well number site 3, so that hopefully that could reduce the nitrates in well number 3. It also will facilitate the water treatment plant, that the pellet plant, when we embark upon that program, where it'll have the necessary electrical power to put a sub-panel into that. And so the objective here is to encourage to purchase this, connect to the sanitary lift station, install the pumps that are in the yard, get that running, and encourage all the property owners around there to hook up to the lift station and then use the force main to go back into our sewer treatment plant.
Okay.
And this will help diminish the nitrates in that area from the septic tanks.
What was the purchase price of that?
I'm going to say that it's right around $7,800, but probably not to exceed, I'd say $8,500.
Okay, any discussion?
So $9,200.
92.
92 is what we have on.
I just think it's time we really got moving on this stuff. This is the first step?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the first step, yes.
Okay.
I just want to comment that this isn't something that needs to go out to bid, because we have some more projects coming up that are going to need to go out to bid, correct?
Yes.
But we're just handling this because it needs to
Yeah,
get done
yeah.
now,
Yeah,
and it's not
Yeah.
Is this in the nature of an emergency purchase?
It's really an emergency to reduce the nitrates in the well and get that.
That's, yeah.
Right.
That should be
That
part
makes
of
it an
the
emergency
motion then
purchase.
to
Now,
approve.
we will be going out to bid to get a firm to install the pumps and the leveling bulbs and hook up the controller to the lift station. And that'll be out to bid. We're going to get the electrical panel. We're going to install the conduit to the electrical controller, and then we're going to go out to bid for it to be hooked up, assembled, and operating the lift station.
And the
Because
other,
our men can't do that.
okay, and the other parts where we're looking at drilling wells and all that, that'll all that
Those
stuff will
those
go
are
out.
all going to be out to bid with RFPs, yeah.
Okay.
It almost sounds like the other part that you're talking about, the installation, shouldn't have to go out to bid either if it's part of the emergency.
Well, yes, but I think that we should do a request for proposals to install the 2 pumps, leveling bulbs, and hook up the controller and get it operational. And I think that's something that I think that we should have a contract with a firm
But
that specializes to do it. Yeah.
That aspect of it can be done fairly quickly.
Yes, yes. Yeah, but it can't be done until we get power,
Right,
and that's the key to it.
okay.
I'll make a motion for him to go ahead with purchase of the panel
Second.
And that's on an emergency
on an emergency
basis based
contingency.
upon the evidence on the water, condition of the water and the wells in the city.
And does the second agree with that?
Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Bach,
Aye.
Councilmember
Did you
Ed,
need to
Aye.
ask public?
Councilmember Cosio,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lund,
Aye.
Mayor Moore.
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion is stated by the mayor passes unanimously.
Didn't have any card.
So that concludes it.
Number 7.
Okay, number 7, discussion items.
Just a recap of, as you recall, we got a compliance order May the 30th from the Department of Public Health, and it concluded that there are 6 directives in that, task directives in the order where we had to achieve. We've matriculated through several of those tasks, or 4 or 5 of them, and it was task number 4 that required us by July the 15th, tonight, to submit a report, a work action program, and a schedule. And we've submitted that where we identified exactly what we've been talking about, is connecting emergency lift stations to reduce nitrate levels, drill some new wells, get everything ready to treat the wells, get Mission RV Park connected to our force line, get everything there. The time schedule on that I put into the proposal that's turned in to there, and they're reviewing it now. It calls for that we want to achieve all of these steps by October of this year, so that we're before the winter rains and stuff like that, and achieve that. Then once we've done that, they'll probably lift the order. Right now, the order stands is that we're required to provide potable water that eliminates the nitrates and correct the problems, and it's up to us to do that. Currently, we're pumping from well number 2 and blending it with well number 1, and we're achieving probably a composite level of about 36 to 37 milligrams per liter. We hope that we can continue to do that. The Department of Public Health will not relieve this compliance order until we achieve these objectives and work orders and action plans that we've profiled. That they're currently reviewing that, and once they review that, then they're going to tell us, it says, yes, this is an excellent plan. Then we have to start our objectives to complete those action plans. And one of them is connecting the sewer and the lift station is one there. Two is to evaluate the sites. We didn't realize is that if well number 2 only has a 36-foot annular seal, and it doesn't even qualify as in the current standards, and so that's going to have to be corrected. And the other thing is that both wells, number 3 and 2, are in floodplain areas. And it requires that the wellhead has to be elevated up to what they call the base flood elevation. And so that's another problem that we have to look at is we have to determine the flood. So the site evaluation is very critical, you know, and the Department of Public Health will advise us, and then we put into the program where we will invite them to come to the site and evaluate it and give us the blessing before we initiate any type of construction. The other thing is that we'll have to develop specifications and go out for RFPs to construct any type of thing, any type of treatment. It goes for our pellet plant as well as our lift station, you know, stuff. So.
Okay, we'll bring it back to the council.
So it's you know, it's not just a simple thing of saying, hey, let's treat the water and everything. There's a lot of factors that I met with the Department of Public Health, and they have advised us is that there's several things that we have to pay attention to before we can implement and then solve the problem. And then, of course, then there's the final thing is that once they get the direction to us, then we have to look for the funding source. They are helping us out of evaluating grants and as well as drought assistance as well as a loan program. So.
Can I ask you, Roger, why doesn't it qualify for that drought funding? I mean,
there is a thing there where we have to demonstrate that the nitrates are a result of the drought, and so we have to document that the drought has caused maybe the lower levels of the water in the aquifer, and then we're picking up more nitrates. And so it's a combination where we have to document the levels of water in the subaquifers and report back several years of the nitrate levels. And there has to be a correlation between the drought and the high nitrates. And then we can qualify for drought service. And that's what we're currently doing now in measuring the depths and digging up through all the records over the last 4 to 5 years. You know, so that's something that's going on to where we're looking at the funding source. You know, and you know, the thing could cost as much as $800,000. You know, by the time we get finished. So we really don't know until we get in and start evaluating and see what our option is our funding source, and go out to RFPs and get the quotes for the various elements of the plan.
So on the noticing, the monthly noticing that we have to do, is it, and I understand that once the water is blended and up at the reservoir and comes back down, it has low enough nitrates to be potable. But it's my understanding that the health department won't lift the order until the nitrates coming directly out of well 2 are below the 45
consistently, yes.
minimum for what, a 1 month period?
No, it's a little bit more complicated than that. It's a program where you have to show the compliance on a consistent basis, and probably the database will probably extend for maybe 3 or 4 months.
Okay, and it doesn't matter then what it is coming out of the reservoir. They want that well 2 if we're using it to be below.
Part of the directive is every 30 days we have to send out that notice complying with that. So anytime a test comes above 45, we have to send out that notice, and we'll let the customers and the residents know that the water does not meet drinking water standards.
So unless this putting people out there who are currently on septics onto our sewer line works, we're talking about October before we will be able to say the city is providing potable water?
maybe, hopefully we can get it done sooner, but,
Yeah, but there is a possibility that, reducing the number of people out there on septic systems and putting them onto our sewer line will reduce.
Will obviously help, because
Yeah.
that takes away the potential for nitrate intrusion.
Okay. There's just no guarantee that
No
that's what'll
guarantee.
happen.
Hey, Roger, on that well 2, is that the one without the the seal?
That's the one well that has the 36-foot annular seal, and that's the one that does not meet the standards.
Is that 3?
No, that's
No,
well number
that's
2.
Well, number 2, okay. And then the other thing too is both of them are in the flood zone.
Exactly.
And then my other question is, there's no guarantee that we're going to receive any money. Hopefully, the city will. But if we're ready to go, and we haven't heard from the state, if we go and complete this and spend $700,000 or $800,000, if we spend it and show that we have the ability to do it, does that automatically deprive us of any sort of grants?
Yeah. Well, yes and no. That's why I'm really working hard on developing the analysis to show that there's a direct relationship of the drought to the high nitrates. And once we can submit that pre-application, and if they give us the go-ahead, it's a letter of commitment. That drought funding is that you have to spend that money before they reimburse you. So,
okay.
You guys keep coming up with $700,000 or $800,000, and I don't know where this is coming from.
I'm just saying is that I'm reporting you the worst possible case and stuff like that. So, in the big picture is that we hope that we can get it done cheaper.
Well, I mean, like your estimate for well 2 is $150,000.
It might be $200,000.
Yeah.
See,
And also those estimates were before you found out it was in the floodplain?
Exactly, and those are things that I have to wait until the DPH looks at it and says, hey, this is reasonable, and let's go with it, and then we'll be sending out RFPs to the well drillers.
Can we elevate that well on a I-beam platform?
Well, I think most conventional is you put a concrete pedestal up and then elevate it. And the theory there is that the wellhead has to be above the flood elevation, so that flood waters don't go running down into it.
Maybe that's why they did that at number 3.
Might have done it, yeah.
I don't know when that happened.
Yeah, I've looked on the flood FEMA maps, and there's a BF5 flood elevation level there, and then I'm going to have to go out and run some elevations to see what it is.
Or maybe Bracewell's already done it.
No, the reason I said that about the $700,000 to $800,000 is it's like the papers are reporting that we spent $650,000 at our last meeting on, and I'm going, where did they get, we asked you to look into something, we didn't spend $675,000.
We haven't spent any money yet, other than correcting some of the nitrate lift stations and stuff like that, that we're going through. And tonight you give me the authorization to get this electrical sub-panel going, so get that going.
Okay. Is there anybody from the public that'd like to address this item, the water issue? No? Okay, I'll bring it back.
Okay. It's a work in progress.
Okay.
It sounds like it's going pretty well, and we might get lucky, and getting these people off septics is going to alleviate the problem.
You need a motion?
No, just a discussion item.
Just a discussion, yeah.
Yeah, it's just
okay.
Okay. Number 8, comments. City Council, Rick, Robert?
I'm okay.
All right. Any comments?
I just wanted to ask if Public Works or you, Roger, talked to the landscape company that does Creek Bridge per the question that was asked by a member of the audience last month.
Yeah, we advised them to cut the watering schedule down. We don't want any water running down the curbs at all and leaving the planter strips. And incidentally, the State Water Board also implemented a stringent things there, and they have the ability to fine up to $500 if people water their lawns and let it run down the street.
But the resident was concerned that the landscape company, even though the lawns weren't being watered as much, so they're not growing very much, they were continuing to mow them, and all it was doing was raising dust, basically, I think is what he was saying. Did you get a chance to talk to the landscape company and ask them to stop doing that?
I didn't tell them that, no, but I'll reinforce that. I've gone out and drove through the subdivision. I didn't see any dust and dirt, that potentially fly.
I guess he lives in the subdivision, and so he sees the landscape company come through and do the same thing that they were doing when they were watering all the time. Only now it doesn't need to be done so often. He said, can't they spend time trimming branches or doing something else besides mowing lawns that are dead?
I did tell him to alter his work schedule to reflect the drought conditions. So
yeah, okay. Thank you.
You mentioned something to me to bring my calendar because
something
about special meetings or something.
Are we going to need a special meeting?
For what?
When I talked to you a week or so ago, you said a follow-up special meeting was probably going to be needed this month. After follow up on our closed session.
Oh, well, that might have to do with the lawsuit that was filed, and when we hear from Deborah and stuff like that, then we'll call a special meeting to handle that. Yeah.
Okay, I thought we might want to go over dates this time because when I talked to Andy about it, he's on vacation week after next, and I'm on vacation next week. Yeah. But it doesn't require all 5 of us be here. If one of us is gone.
I think it has to have 4/5 to vote.
Or 4-0.
Or what are we talking about now? To take what action?
On that lawsuit, yeah.
I'm not aware that you need 4 out of 5 to take what action?
Well, I don't want to get into it at all. It's not there. Discuss it. And I would just say, when we need a special meeting, I'll call it.
Okay. Yeah, based on the quorum.
That solves the Brown Act violation.
Sorry.
I don't have any comments. Roger, do you have any comments?
None.
City Attorney?
No,
no
comments.
And Matt, you're,
I know it was talked about earlier that I'm going to be leaving, and Tony, don't worry, it's not you, it's me. No, but I'm
I thought we'd move him to Gustine, get all the linguishi one.
But yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. I'm planning to take some time off. It's about 7 months. Been planning it for a couple of years now. Kind of before coming on board, I spoke with Roger about it and said, hey, this is happening. Kind of the latest development is that I will be working, with technology nowadays, with phone, email, I will be helping out still with some of the projects, and it's kind of going to be on a as-needed, basis from what Roger needs here in the office, and then of course interfacing with Matt Orbach, and then whoever else we bring on board. But yeah, so I won't be seeing my mug for a while, but I will be coming back, and definitely appreciate everything you guys have done for the city, and with coaching me along as well. So.
And we will be in contact with him electronically periodically.
Take a camera and
So it's a working vacation.
Yeah, it's kind of a combo.